Well, now with 3 heats down, we now head into the final day of asking here at Çeşme in Turkey for the second round of the MotoSurf World Championship, of course, fully recognised by the UIM. And we are now heading into what will be, I'm sure, a clinical final day with the sun beating down 28 degrees in the air right now, with temperatures stabilising throughout the weekend between 28 to 30 degrees. It is going to be a huge challenge for the riders to cope with this, with a huge amount of chop forming across the waters. With the wind now started to pick up, this is going to be a consistent trend throughout the course of the day. Having already seen ourselves through the first round at Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates on the 11th to the 12th of April, we've arrived here at Çeşme for the 20th to the 22nd of June stint, and this, of course, part 2 of a 4-part championship that we're going to be witnessing. Here are the starting positions for the junior boys to kick us off today for Heat 4, 5 laps with 1 long lap. Matthias Barbeck, who has been in top form in recent times, taking a string of victories so far, ahead of Stanislav Kuhort, who is starting from second. Oliver Wolf in third place, with Leo Lichal-Kratochvil in fourth as well, with Maximilian Hrushka in fifth place as well. Stepan Simek lines up in 6th after qualifying third, has not quite hit the heights of where he would like to be, with Jakub Nurochny in 7th, with Sani Uris in 8th. Mohamed Chigdem, of course, lining up in 9th as well. So those are the runners ahead of our first race of asking. Of course, we're going to be taking you through the heats right up through towards midday, and then in the afternoon we will be hitting the finals categories, and obviously the finals, to bring an end to what has been truly a remarkable run, but it is still early days. Big points, of course, mean prizes. These riders will all be looking for those important final places, and of course with the young crop of talents we have coming through the ranks at the moment. Obviously, I mentioned Matthias Barbeck, who has been absolutely sensational. Heat 1, Heat 2 and Heat 3 victories all across the board, taking victories in every single one so far, ahead of Stanislav Kuhort, who's obviously also been sharp, has been there, qualified second behind Barbeck, and has since finished second twice over, with third in between. Second in Heat 1 and Heat 2 and Heat 3, with third place in Heat 2. Oliver Wolf also coming into the fray as well. After qualifying fourth, he has finished above that on 2 separate occasions, including Heat 1, where he managed to muster third, with a second place finish in Heat 2 as well. Heat 3 did not quite go to plan, dropping to 6, and will be looking to recover, I am sure. But many others who might yet rise to the occasion late in the day. As you can see, the riders have now hit the water, and we got a chance, didn't we, folks, to speak to Matej Kozicek, obviously a man who is now competing in the elite category this season and trying to batter against his hero Lukas Zahorski. He was giving us some insights yesterday as to how the riders could be coping with such conditions, and we mentioned obviously the fact that the wind can be quite an imposition to many riders, just keeping balance on the board. You know, that is, of course, the necessity of competing at the highest level here in the world of MotoSurf, and of course it's World Championship. You need to have your wits about you, and it looks like now, with the wind starting to pick up, the very fear that Matej Kozicek has placed in is certainly going to be recognised. But we'll have to see how the boys fare as they look ahead to the first race of asking. As I said, they have got a long lap to take, and that will be in amongst 5 laps of racing, as well as we just see the hand being raised straight away by our number 3 rider, Oliver Wolf, who's just making his way around now. Obviously, he will not be leading the line. That will be Matthias Barbeck, who will be in spot 1 for this, and holding that starting position. It'll be his job to line everyone up by holding his hand up in the air, and then will, of course, be working with the marshals in order to optimise his start, and also that of his fellow competitors, because, of course, if the marshals aren't happy with the start, they can, of course, ask for it to be redone, and that has been a consistent theme throughout the course of the weekend so far. There is Matthias Barbeck, the man from the Czech Republic, as part of a full-on Czech Republic representation here, apart from obviously a few of the home nation heroes of Sani Uris and Mohamed Chigdem, of course both of them representing the Turkey nation. So you can just see a little bit of movement there from Leo Lichal-Kratochvil, obviously just looking to get himself warmed up, ready for the event, and stepping up for his first season in the boys category. And now coming through around the final corner, it's going to be all on Matthias Barbeck to bring them up towards the line to get us underway. So we'll see now whether they can get that clean start. They have been well versed to it across the weekend. Obviously, they got a practice start ahead of the first heat on Friday. but now are well and truly ready for it as they line up into position. And it looks like they are going to have to take the start again. So Maciej Barwick taking them through towards the next lap. There was little bit of disjointment there between some of the riders on the far outside. It looked like definitely that Stepan Simek was a little bit out of line along with Maximilian Hruška. And the marshals just guiding them around on the jet skis. So they now put themselves into position. Just a little reminder, of course, the technology that various riders are using is, of course, the stock machinery that is supplied by JetSurf. So every single rider has the same equipment as at their disposal, the two-stroke powered engine, naturally aspirated. Of course, no turbocharged engine equipment on offer here in the MotoSurf World, the MotoSurf Championship here. As the junior boys look to get set, looking to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Sebastian Kostelecki, as well as Faraz Ramadan, who's now since appeared in stock action. So now they come up towards the start-finish line. As you can see, the marshal just in the far distance. He'll be the one waving the flag and giving the go-ahead to the riders. If he turns it or spins it around, it means they will have to go again. But this looks already far better. It surfs up here now on Sunday here in the MotoSurf World Championship, and it's a poor start from Maciej Barwick. He's been challenged by Oliver Wolf straight away, and it looks like Wolf has got him. Oliver Wolf with the upper hand coming through the first sector. So it's Maciej Barwick now down into second place. Great start. In fact, I'm not sure if it was, yes, it was Wolf. Wolf in front as they wind their way through the slalom. Side by side once again. No, Barwick looking to come back with such force. Obviously, you can see the jet ski just moving aside. A little bit of dirty water there coming up for Wolf to deal with. And it comes to a stop. A red flag has been brought out. So they've brought out the red flag. Now, that's the first time we've seen that this weekend. Looks like we've had a moment somewhere out of the course, and that means they will have to move into Parc Fermé. There is a rider off in the water. But the marshals seeing fit to call a red flag at the start of that event. So they will have to return to Parc Fermé to reassess. So we'll have to see what caused that, essentially, at some point, but not quite sure where it came from. But truly bizarre. But there was a rider off in the water. Maybe it was just a safety element. It was interesting how the jet ski from one of the marshals actually cut across and was kind of providing that dirty wash there for Oliver Wolf. So no question they've obviously discovered something they're not happy with. And we'll wait for the riders to head back out. There are the two marshals now. Of course, now getting into position. Might not be too long before they get back underway and out onto the water. They won't want to wait too long. Of course, we mentioned this as well with Matej Kozicek, obviously referring to the countless occasions that sometimes the start doesn't go to plan. You find yourself doing multiple restarts, and that can get into a rider's head. You know, Matej Kozicek was alluding to that yesterday, and obviously Oliver Wolf will be disappointed because he had a huge getaway right at the start and led, and obviously Maciej Barwick isn't going to want to allow him to run away like that again. But they were coming into close contact, coming through towards the slalom. As now we see some words being shared in between the marshals and the riders. And looks like some positive words as well, just some feedback from the marshals to the riders themselves as they get prepared for the first race of the day. Of course, with heats 1, 2 and 3, we're now left with the heat 4 leading through to the final. And of course, heat 4s are so integral because it's your last chance saloon to potentially qualify for the final. But obviously, all these riders will be in final contention, I'm sure, later on. But not forgetting, we will be combining we will be seeing the junior girls go out as well. Of course, historically, we've seen them share the water. But obviously, this time around, the categories are separated as now they come back into formation. It's Maciej Barwick on the inside with the hand raised. He's about to take the next left turn, and then it'll be a steady run to the line before they then lay the throttle down. And surf will indeed be up here at Turkey. So now they get into position here at Cheshire. On the inside, it's Maciej Barwick with Oliver Wolf, who will be looking to get the same jump again. And you can just see there, Barwick, a little look to his inside. They are going to have to go again as well. As you can see, the flag being turned by the marshal. And the same reaction being shown by Maciej Barwick as well. So they are going to have to take the outside course once more. This is where the nerves will be settling in right now. As you can see, Matis Barvik there with his hand up, just directing the remaining runners just to follow him through, to ready up for the start. But all calm at the moment. The wind's certainly maintaining a steady pace at the moment. No doubt we will see that pick up late in the day. And obviously, as you can see from the wash that's been created from the boards out in front, it's going to be tough for those riders that are starting further back. So that'll include the likes of Jakim Nurochny and Sani Uris, as well as Mohamed Chikdem, who are going to have to deal with that dirty wash just in behind. It can really affect the balance of the board. So they're really going to have their wits about them. Almost has an anti-slipstream effect in the world of MotoSurf. So now we watch them make their way towards the line. As you can now see the marshal in the distance. Will they call it again this time? Will it be flagged down? Looks like they're going to have to go again. The jet ski just covering them off at the front. So that would suggest to me that they're going to have to run again. Oliver Wolf just communicating there with the marshal on the white jet ski. But getting back underway now. They'll make their way over the other side. And once again, hand up for Matis Barvik. But obviously, the many contenders that we have here, of course, competing here in the heats. Matis Barvik was, while impressive in the final back at Fajira GP, the heats really went the way of Stanislav Kuhut, who managed to come away with 54 points after qualifying first fastest. But it's been largely a different story here this time around, with Matis Barvik qualifying 6th last time, and that was, in terms of the boys category, out of the 6. So a much improved performance this time around, as we now watch as they once again make their way up towards the line. Just getting into position there is the number 5 of Maximilian Hruška, joined of course by Stepan Simek as well. The flag is being raised by the marshal, so we will get a clear indicator as to whether we get going again this time. And Surf's up here in the first race of the day, here in the junior boys category, and it's not Wolf this time, it's going, well, it is Wolf this time, it looks like, coming through around the outside. We got also in the mix Stanislav Kahut as well. Not a great start again by Matis Barvik, who's going to be coming under some distinct pressure as they make their way through the lefts and rights. There is of course Oliver Wolf right now. Of course, 3rd, 2nd and 6th so far this weekend. A first victory will be absolutely massive right now, but they're going to be neck and neck coming down through the slalom to kick us off. And it is still, right now, Oliver Wolf out in front. Here comes now the number 1 of Matis Barvik, who now crosses the line. And it's 3rd place at the moment for Stanislav Kuhort, as well as further back. A great start for Maximilian Hruška as well, who's currently ahead of Stepan Simek. And unfortunately for Leo Lichel Kratovshvili, he's dropped down the order by quite some margin, as now we watch as Oliver Wolf takes them through on the next lap. So back-to-back decent starts here for Oliver Wolf, despite the first one not going ahead as normal. Wolf managed to muster it once more and managed to certainly pull off a decent lead advantage. But now taking the long lap is Matis Barvik, who's now making his way around the black and yellow boys right now. So looking to go against the grain of what Oliver Wolf is looking to bring to the table. Now remember, they only do the 1 long lap here in the junior boys, out of the 5 laps in total. So you only get 1 chance to get this right. But Oliver Wolf now just coming around the final corner. Will he respond straight away to Matis Barvik's decision to take that long lap? Makes his way through turn 1 and turn 2 now, before then tackling turn 3. There is Matis Barvik, just making his way through the slalom this time around. A successful run in the long lap at the moment, as we now watch him take the final corner and hitting the boy straight away, just showing full commitment, has to be said. We now keep our eyes peeled on the boards further up as well. The number 252 is Stanislav Kuhor, who we're currently watching out in the wash at the moment of Oliver Wolf. And Wolf choosing to continue on the same line as he makes his way through the slalom, and not opting for that long lap just yet. Just got a little bit tucked under the water there, which is going to go against the momentum of the board. So it will place him at a little bit of a disadvantage coming out of the slalom, but he hasn't lost too much time. Still ahead of Stanislav Kuhort for now by quite a few meters. and pushing his way through the first sector now, hitting every single boy out on this layout. Stepan Simek currently lining up in third place, of course qualified third as well in qualifying, leading through to the weekend. But since then, his best finish has been fourth, which is less than ideal because, of course, he was fifth in, sixth and seventh in sequential rounds, obviously in Heat 1 and Heat 2. So we now watch as they make their way through the slalom section now this time. Of course, this is Maciej Barvik we're currently seeing. Leo Lichol Kratov now moving up into fourth place. Stepan Simek forfeits fifth. So we now watch Wolf now head around the final corner to commence his next lap. The white flag is now raised. Surely Wolf is going to be considering he's got to go for that long lap now. So we will see whether he's done enough against the grain of Maciej Barvik's decision to take the long lap. This is going to be a very important moment in the race here at this stage as we now watch him undertake the red buoy. There is, of course, our number one rider, Maciej Barvik, making his way through the first sector. So now we'll see them come together, surely. And yes, indeed, here we go. Wolf now undertaking the long lap. Now, where will he come out in comparison to Maciej Barvik here? Barvik now confirmed currently second. It's going to be so tight between them. And in fact, Barvik might have got the upper hand here as they make their way down towards the back straight. It's going to be so tight. And it will be Barvik who's out in front ahead of Oliver Wolf right now. They're going to tussle heading through the slalom. Who's going to be quicker as they look to take alternate routes? Surely one goes to the right, one goes to the left, you would fathom. Doesn't look like it though. Wolf committing to the same line. So that will put him into the wash of Maciej Barvik, which is going to really hold him up. Stanislav Kuhort now moves into third. But to kick off the heats for today, as now we see them come side by side. My goodness, what a late lunge that was from Stanislav Kuhort. It's going to be Maciej Barvik who's going to take victory here in the final time of asking. What a phenomenal display as well, just out of the wash from Stanislav Kuhort to move into second. Oliver Wolf, who looked to have the win on a plate, it all came away right at the last moment. What a run through the slalom from Stanislav Kuhort. That was a charge right from the clouds. As now we watch as the sixth of Stepan Simek comes across the line as well. But disappointment, I'm sure, for Oliver Wolf, who looked to have the win in the palm of his hands. That's his third place finish of the day. Very unlucky, I must say. We'll go through the results now, folks. It's Maciej Barvik, your winner at the end of that cracking race. Certainly what a finale. Stanislav Kuhort finishing in second. Oliver Wolf in third spot with Stepan Simek in fourth place. Maximilian Hruska in fifth with Jakub Nirochny in sixth. Next up comes Leo Lichol Kratov in seventh and Mohamed Sigjem in eighth place as well. So those results conclude Heat 4, the final heat of the junior boy category. And it's gone the way of Maciej Barvik, which will, of course, set him on the right path to the final. That is 4 straight wins accompanying a qualifying of a first fastest qualifying session as well. He has known nothing but victory so far in this round here at Cheshire, Turkey. And what a way to kick off the day as well. I just want to say, Stanislav Kuhort, what a lunge right at the last minute. Fantastic effort to take down Oliver Wolf coming around the final buoy, and it was enough at the end of the day to take a phenomenal second place and his third second place finish as well of the weekend, after finishing third as well in Heat 2 and second place in qualifying as well. Oliver Wolf has been there or thereabouts, a much improved performance on Heat 3, but just wasn't quite clinical enough. This is the replay of them crossing the line. A huge effort by all 3 riders as we now move through to the junior girls section now. First place, starting on the first spot on the grid, will be Nela Poznikova. Ellen Budova starting in second. Adela Pokarova in third, with Maja Zulawinska in fourth, representing Poland. And then Melanie Janhubova will line up in fifth. 5 laps with 1 long lap to take in the junior girls as well. So it'll all be on the front runners. Ellen Budova, who's not shown, should we say, the exact same venom we have seen in prior rounds, obviously coming off the back of Fajira, but she has managed to take a win already in the very first heat of asking after achieving pole position in qualifying. But since then, 4th in Heat 2 and a Heat 3 second place has not held a candle to Nela Poznikova, who's managed to march out the last 2 heats with victories. And should she get another one here, she'll have that Heat 1 second place crossed out, which means she would have had a perfect trio of races to put her in a great spot for the final later on. And of course, we've got to keep our eyes on others throughout this as well. Adela Pokarova, who's known nothing but 3rd so far through the course of the Cheshmere round here in Turkey. Who knows, maybe she can muster up something a little bit special here in this particular race. But here in Heat 4, we once again go racing. And as you can see from the flags out on the course, the wind definitely started to pick up here. And it will be more so right in the middle of the sea. Of course, we're right in the Aegean Sea at the moment, overlooking Cheshmere Beach right now. And we currently stand 85 kilometers away from the Izmir region. So quite a scenic part of the world. So we now take a look at that very same breeze, just look how aggressive it is. And you can't imagine what it's like for the riders on those boards out there, especially when you get a crosswind and you're trying to balance it out on the circuit. And some applause going the way of the 252. And of course, we know that to be Stanislav Kuhor, who managed to pull off that really remarkable final corner attack down the inside. And Oliver Wolf had no answer for it. It was a brilliant display. And we've seen that a couple of times this weekend. We saw Matej Kozicek in the elite category. He actually managed to do that to his hero of all people, of course, Lukas Zahorski, who is a legend of the MotoSurf World Championship, a legend of the sport as well, a 6 times world champion. So now we watch as the junior girls now head out onto the circuit. So we should be in for another feisty encounter. Obviously, last year's winner was Kristina Herbkova. And of course, Ellen Badova coming in from the Fajira round. She managed to achieve 54 points, a perfect weekend after qualifying 2nd in that juniors. But Nela Poznikova, who didn't quite show the same, but the all-important heats where she managed to muster 42 points through the course of that. She's now managed to turn that into a sequence of victories here at Turkey since Heat 2. And there is Adela Pokarova representing the Czech Republic also. It's a full-on Czech top 3 at the moment here in this junior girls category. So they now look to get themselves ingratiated with the water, just getting some practice runs around the course. And Nela Poznikova will, of course, be the one to lead the line as they now come around the course now. And it won't be long before the hand is raised. And the girls are asked to form up in formation. Maja Zulawinska, the only Polish competitor in the field, of course, achieving a 2nd place in Heat 2 yesterday. We've seen quite a successful number of Polish riders taken to the course over the weekend. She'll be hoping she can muster in a final strong performance in the heats this time around, but it's going to be no mean feat to try and take down Nela Poznikova. Of course, they are phenomenal competitors here in the junior girls category as now they make their way down the back straight through the slalom section. Will get themselves organised. They look to take the home straight, where they will undertake the start. On the wide outside, you can just see there Melanie Janhubova looking for a big final race this time around in the heats. Qualified 5th, 4th though in Heat 1. 5th consecutively though in the last 2 heats. Will be looking to bounce back, potentially with a decent result. As now Poznikova now starts steadily moving her way towards the start line. The marshals waiting to give the go-ahead, with Ellen Badova watching on, waiting for her shot as well. Both Ellen Badova and Adela Pokarova wearing the white jerseys, as you can see, is now surfs up here in the junior girls category, and it's neck and neck straight away between Nela Poznikova and, of course, Ellen Badova, but the inside line favouring Poznikova coming through the first boys, so she will retain that lead now. Coming through the first boys here on the opening lap, chasing her down is Ellen Badova, just spreading through the wash. They're going to take alternate lines through the slalom. So let's see who's going to come out on top as we now watch them take either side. At the moment, they are neck and neck. Nothing between them. A massive crash out, though. And that is Nela Poznikova, who's in the water. A massive upset here from a competitor that's already won twice back-to-back, but that's handed Ellen Badova the lead on a silver plate, and she now leads through on the second lap of asking. A massive moment here right now, and she's still in the water at the moment, is Nela Poznikova, not yet back on the board, but now getting it back moving again as she looks to remount, and she does. So there we go, massive moment here to kick things off today, but Ellen Badova has been handed a gift here at this point, and Adela Pokarova as well sat in second, with Maya Zulovinska moving up into the podium places in third, as we now watch them make their way through the halfway point on the course. Here in lap 2, it'll now be the slalom this time around for Ellen Badova. Weaving through, obviously the same scene as where we lost Nela Poznikova in the opening lap. And has got plenty of clean air in front of it. And Adela Pokarova also looking for a cool, calm remainder of her round, as well as now Ellen Badova takes the first boy out on the course for the next lap, lap 3. Of course, a little reminder, this will of course be undertaken 5 laps. A loss of balance there from Adela Pokarova that time. Just got a little bit too close to the boy for comfort. As now Melanie Janhubova also crosses the line to commence her next lap as well. Looking set to take on a second, fourth place of the weekend. So now we watch as the 3 of Adela Pokarova makes her way around. Of course, we will wait and see if we're going to see the long lap anytime soon. Remember, just one long lap, including the 5 laps in total that they've got to take. As we now see Pokarova coming through the course in the opening sector on this next lap. It won't be long before the white flag comes out. These races do disappear in a matter of moments, everybody. So blink and you'll miss it. As we watch them come through the bollards once again. This looks like a very close tie-up. This is the number 4 of Maya Zulovinska. In the background as well, making some very strong progress, is Nela Poznikova, who's looking to recover after the mishap on the opening lap. And she's now on the tail of Maya Zulovinska right now. She's currently sat in third place, is Zulovinska, at this stage. As we now watch as the 78 of Adela Pokarova makes her way around, getting a bit too close to the water for comfort in places, just trying to find her balance. Really committing to every single apex, but you can't overcommit, otherwise you'll find yourself in deep trouble. But Pokarova doing a great job, still holding on to second right now, and will cross the line. As we now watch them take the course once more, as we now come across to our race leader, Ellen Badova. Back on top again for the first time since Heat 1 yesterday. Our first race of the weekend in the junior girls category. And obviously afforded that clean air just to allow her to carry on. In the background, we're just seeing, of course, our leader, or ex-leader, or should we say our pole sitter coming into this, Nela Poznikova, trying to catch up. It looks like she might have dealt with Zulovinska at the moment, but final lap now being undertaken. And no question, we're going to see the long laps out front and centre. As now Adela Pokarova makes her way through the slalom this time. About to come around the final few boys of asking. Sprinting past the yellow boy, now around the 2 final reds. And now up towards the line to commence the next lap, her final lap here this time. Looks like every rider is undertaking the long lap at the moment. So we rejoin our front runner, Ellen Badova, coming through the slalom. And this is going to be such a clinical and phenomenal victory for Ellen Badova, back on top for the first time since Heat 1. She'll come across the line, taking victory for a second time this weekend. From pole to victory in Heat 1. She's just taken victory again after a sequence of 4th and 2nd in Heat 2 and Heat 3. But a brilliant race on her part, and managing to capitalise after the error from Nela Poznikova, who found herself in the water on the opening lap. There she is now. She will be disappointed, I'm sure, with that. But chasing down Adela Pokarova, she might actually obtain third place here, which would be a valiant return from Nela Poznikova. As they cross the line, we will, of course, get the results when they become available, folks. But remarkable recovery effort from Nela Poznikova, it seems. And she'll now bring her jet surf down to a slow, steady pace. But no stopping Ellen Badova this time. No one else could hold a candle to her. And she comes out of this, our race winner here this time. Let's run you through the results. And yes, indeed, Pozdnikova did manage to rumble in third place. It was Ellen Badova, though, your winner, ahead of Adela Pokarova, who finished in second. And incidentally, that's her first second place finish so far this weekend as well. We then have Melanie Janubova in fourth, Maja Zulovitska finishing at the back of the field. But congratulations, Ellen Badova, on securing that fantastic victory. And they'll make their way back to Parc Fermé, where they will undertake the service on the boards, preparing for the final. That will be coming up, of course, later on this afternoon. But fantastic starts with the juniors really bringing the best of it here. We have, of course, got the women classification coming up next, the Group A, to kick things off with 7 laps and 2 long laps to be taken. And that's when we'll see the return of Eliska Matuskova, who I'm sure is an inspiration for many of these junior competitors out on the water, because many of them with their eyes set on potentially featuring in the women category in the not too distant future, becoming a multi-champion, a 3-time champion, much like Eliska Matuskova. Also with 3 European titles against her name. She clean sweeped the last round. Now this was the moment where it all went wrong, just losing it coming around the buoy. It just slipped from underneath her, almost over-committing past the buoy. They're just getting a little bit too low, and obviously the collision with the buoy just sort of forcing her off her board, but it led to an opportunity for Ellen Badova to take that fantastic win. It'll serve her well heading into the final later on, as we see her remove her helmet and make her way back into Parc Fermé. And of course, credit to Adela Pokarova, who managed to achieve her first second place of the weekend. For the first time, she's out of the third place realm. She qualified third as well, but second this time around. Very, very good way to end your heat stint, leading through to the final, showing some very decent, steady progression. But like I said, it all leads to the women's class. And like we also said, Eliska Matuskova coming off the back of Fujairah GP, being one of our phenomenal stars of that one, taking a sequence of victories, much like, though, Anita Strukalova, who was also a European champion, but twice over. World Championship runner-up as well, 4 times running. So I'm sure looking to right that wrong. Obviously, over the last 3 years, we've seen Eliska Matuskova along with Anita Sacharova come along and take the championship back in 2022. As now we see the riders take to the course. Next up, we have the elite, though. To kick us off first, it's Matej Kozicek. We'll be lining up in position 1 with Lukas Zahorski in second, Matthias Novotny in third, Alex Lukscheider in 4th place, along with Dominik Kadlec in 5th, and then Yuri Wolf in 6th place right now. So 8 laps and 2 long laps to be undertaken for the elite. Of course, we'll have the women's category after the elite category. That'll be coming up later on. So exciting stuff with Matthias Novotny, who we would expect probably an improved performance from. Of course, hasn't necessarily discovered that as of late. Hasn't been easy for him. But being a reigning champion, we would almost expect a little bit more from the young man. Qualified 4th coming into the first event, finishing 2nd in that first heat, and then 3rd in consecutive races. At the moment, leading the heat classification is the man on your right, just making his way through the initial buoy. That is, of course, Matej Kozicek, who has taken 2 wins in the last 3 heats with a first place qualifying effort. So he'll be looking to take his 3rd victory of this heat. Of course, we'll be starting on pole, which means he will have that inside line, but it's not all about that, simply that anyway, because of course you need to have the getaway off the line. Not to mention, if you make a mistake, you can pay the price. You now see Dominic Kadlec making his way around the course as well, just getting some cycle laps in. Getting himself used to the course. And I would say this is definitely the windiest we have seen the elite category all weekend long. And no question, it's going to be a true test for the riders. But all of them are very capable. When you've got Lukas Zahorski starting second alongside Matej Kozicek. Of course, Zahorski is 6 times world champion. Matthijs Novotny, world champion of 2022, and elite world champion of 2024. Kozicek also has experience as a world champion back in 2022 in the world of MotoSurf. Has his arm raised now as he bids to get everyone together for the start of this 4th and final heat before the final for the elite category. This is the best of the best we're looking at here. Of course, Matej Kozicek representing the FG Forest Racing team. Looking for a clinical final race to bring him the big points, so he can clean up with 3 fantastic wins after cancelling out a second. That will be his mission. But the man on his inside has been here before, Lukas Zahorski. Can never, ever count him out. That is why he is so good. Zahorski, incidentally, coming out maybe not the best scoring pilot, because, of course, Luke Scheider was the top performer in the heats back at Fajira GP. But now, as we look to get Heat 4 in round 2 here at Çeşme in Turkey, on your left, as you're looking at it, it's Matej Kozicek with, on his inside, Lukas Zahorski. These two will be doing battle all the way through turn 1 as we await the marshal. And no, they're not going to get underway. They're going to have to line up once again. The marshal not happy with the positioning of the riders out on the course. Dominic Kadlec, you can just see on the extreme right with the yellow. Or should I say Yuri Wolf, I should say, with the in the yellow. But Dominic Kadlec could be just on his inside. As we now watch them head down towards the back portion of the layout through the circuit. Now heading down on the outside of the slalom. Will then take the turn before taking the starts. So in the 1 short, you can see that's Matej Kozicek on his inside. In the number 2 short, that is, of course, Lukas Zahorski. In the 3 short, we have Matthijs Novotny. In the 4 short, Alex Luke Scheider, Dominic Kadlec in the 5th short, and the 6th short for Yuri Wolf as well, as now they look to line up to take the start once more. So they now start to trickle their way through towards the line, the flag being raised by the marshal, as they now set for Surfs Up here in the elite for the Heat 4, and getting a good start indeed was Kozicek. He leads the way. Really, really grandiose start. Wasn't a great start for Lukas Zahorski. He was coming under some serious pressure here from the boarding behind belonging to Matthijs Novotny, as they now look to take alternate courses. It's going to be so tight for second place here as they look to weave in and out. And it looks like, I think Zahorski has managed to dig a little deeper. He might be challenging for the lead here. Maybe not. He will remain in second as they now round the final 2 boys. It's currently, at the moment, number 1, Matej Kozicek coming through Zahorski. 3rd, Matthijs Novotny. 4th is, of course, Alex Luke Scheider, who's getting closer to 3rd. It's now further back, Dominic Kadlec in 5th as well, as they come through the first of the boys. Yuri Wolf coming somewhat detached in the yellow at the moment, as we now watch them weave their way through the 2nd lap in the opening stages of the course. It is still Matej Kozicek, twice a race winner already this weekend through the course of the heats. Looking to make it a brilliant 3rd. Was a little bit aggressive over the water there. Lukas Zahorski having to deal with the wash, but he's taking the long lap now this time. So looking to go against the grain. Remember, 2 long laps need to be taken here by our elite class in 8 laps of racing. As he now makes his way back out onto the circuit, he will then rejoin the mainstay course. But it is still, at the moment, Matej Kozicek crossing the line, putting in a fantastic stint once more. He's starting to pull a gap now this time, ahead of Matthijs Novotny, of course, reigning champion of the MotoSurf elite class. Just getting that board a little bit twisted, but so far so good. Kozicek giving a good display so far. Now peeling through is Zahorski, coming through across the line to begin his next lap. Of course, already taken the long lap, and it looks like now it's going to be covered off by Kozicek. He's looking to respond against Lukas Zahorski's run onto the long lap, ever wary of other competitors around him, as he now looks to storm across the line through the rounded black gates. And now back onto the course. Now we'll see how he measures against Zahorski. I think he is still ahead of him at the moment. So far so good for Kozicek. Of course, he's got Yuri Wolf in front of him, which might be a challenge. Hang on, we've got a rider in the water here. Now, who's that? That's number 5 of Dominic Kadlec, who's come off his board, so he's now mounting it again as he crosses the line. But there is Kozicek now undertaking the next lap. Now, he's being held up here. He might choose to take the long lap if Yuri Wolf doesn't, because he's currently stuck in the wash. Remember, they do have to take 2, so curious to see whether Wolf takes it. Oh, no, through goes Kozicek, managing to brush through past Yuri Wolf. So no longer a concern, and he will take another long lap here, just trying to get himself out of the way from the other competitors that are there in that first sector. Just wants a clean run for the remainder of his race. But this could offer a olive branch here for Lukas Zahorski, who's currently making his way through the first sector. So let's see where they come out. Will they come out together? As now we see them come around now. There is Zahorski. He's still on the tail of Kovicek right now. So 2 long laps now undertaken by both riders. So now it's up to the pair of them now to fight it out on the water as they come through the slalom. But it is still Kozicek right now coming through towards the final corners. And we'll begin the next lap. He's got Lukas Zahorski for company as they round the final bend and cross the line. And the lap counter keeps coming down. And there will be little time left for Zahorski to mount a challenge. Unless he's willing to risk it all here at this stage, he might just look to consolidate that second place. But what a remarkable story this has been. And Zahorski just getting a little bit tied up in the water there, having to really try and maintain his balance. He is right at the wash of Matej Kozicek here, who has done a superb job once again, continuing his rampant run. So now they come through the S-bends now. Very shortly they will undertake the final 2 corners out of the slalom. Kozicek now around the final buoy to begin the next lap of asking. There is the number 3 belonging to Matthias Novotny, the reigning champion, with plenty of work to do here. He's behind at the moment by quite some margin. Currently down in second, well, currently in second place, but still yet to take that long lap. And Alex Luke Scheider, who's currently leading, of course, are going to take the long way round. Also waiting to take that additional long lap. So now we see the number 3 come across the line of Matthias Novotny. Now, will he undertake that long lap this time around as we watch as our net leaders come down through the slalom? Of course, this is Matej Kozicek and Lukas Zahorski. As they come down towards the final few buoys before starting the next lap. Around the final corner and across the line. They're getting closer together now. They're bunching up between the 2 of them. As we now see the number 3 of Matthias Novotny now taking that long lap. So this should see the runners fall back into formation. We're watching now as Kozicek makes his way through. The white flag is, of course, out this time. So this is the last chance saloon as now they come out, and just keep my eyes peeled to see whether we have seen a dramatic twist here at this late stage. There is, of course, Lukas Zahorski, who's currently sat, we believe, in a net P2 position. Now making his way through the boys at the moment. There is, of course, the man who started pole, Matej Kozicek. So now they come through towards the final quarters. Now this time, it looks like the number 3 of Matthias Novotny is going to come across the line now to undertake his next lap. Now I believe they do still have this one final lap to take, so this would make sense. But out of all this, has Matthias Novotny managed to find himself in the lead spot now? Obviously, Alex Luke Scheider, I would imagine, looking to take the long lap now and looking to rejoin. Obviously, plenty of riders getting caught up in the rush. And it looks like Alex Luke Scheider might have held on to the lead here. He's currently in front. By the looks of it, I did see a jet of white making its way past our screen. So Alex Luke Scheider might have actually snuck the lead here. Obviously, a few of the riders actually getting caught up in the wash of riders ahead. And now as they make their way through, I think it is. Yes, Alex Luke Scheider is now leading the race. I think he's come out in front of the runners. We'll wait and see now as they come around the final corner. There is number 3. No, it was Matthias Novotny who has taken the victory. Alex Luscheider in second. And it's third for Matej Kozicek. Remarkable ending to that race. That's where the long lap can certainly cause a stir, folks. But it's Matthias Novotny, the reigning champion, managing to come away with a truly remarkable victory. It looked like Alex Luscheider had pulled a worldie of a move by taking that late long lap, but unbelievably, the man who has finished second and third back-to-back twice has finally taken a victory against his name. Zahorski will be fourth. Come the end of that, it's third place as well for Matej Kozicek, with Dominik Kadlec further down in fifth and Yuri Wolf in sixth as well. But a magnificent race. We will, of course, go through those results, folks, as soon as we have them ready to go. And here they are, in fact. So, winner of elite class in Group A, it's Matthias Novotny, your winner, ahead of Alex Luscheider in second, Matej Kozicek in third, Lukas Zahorski in fourth. Yuri Wolf was actually fifth, ahead of Dominik Kadlec, who, of course, had that little mistake and fell into the water. So that would explain where he lost that. But remarkable victory for Matthias Novotny. The reigning champ is back and on top here in Heat 4 in the elite class. So that is their heats done and dusted. They'll now look towards the final to conclude a day's racing. We'll find out who the winner of the Cheshire GP is going to be, or the Turkey GP. Next up, we do, of course, have the women taking to the water. We will see the return of Eliska Matuskova. This is, of course, the highlight footage of our P1 sitter for the start of the race. Of course, unfortunately for Matej Kozicek, he was outdone by this man, Matthias Novotny. Matthias Novotny doing a wonderful job to execute the long lap to perfection. And unfortunately, I think it was the case for Matej Kozicek that he got held up by numerous runners, and therefore it just slowed him up. And it allowed those that went on for the late long lap to kick on and take victory and a second place as well, because Alex Luscheider was the last one to take the long lap, and he ended up finishing second. So phenomenal job by those two as we now move through to the women's Heat 4. And this is Group A as well, 7 laps, including 2 long laps as well. Eliska Matuskova starting in first place, with Mariana Navarova in second, Emma Struklova in third, Valentina Novotna in fourth, with Linda Luscheider in fifth, Liu Jin in sixth, with Rosalia Janora in seventh, Polina Karpova in eighth, and Dinara Ibrahimova in ninth place. So those are your top 9 heading through in this first group session here this time. And obviously Eliska Matuskova, the one to beat. 3 wins, a perfect trio so far. And even if she records her worst result here, she will come out of this with a full-on wins record to lead through to the final. But there'll be plenty of other contenders, including Maria Navarova, who's already proven a few times over now that she can cope with the best of them. Has finished third twice, second once already this weekend. And Emma Struklova also achieving reasonably the same feat. Anyway, second once, third twice, with Valentina Novotna coming third in the first heat, but 6th and 5th after that. And the wind has really picked up here as well, which is going to cause a few problems, I think, for some of the runners out there. But Eliska Matuskova just crossed the line, getting herself ready for the start. She will, of course, be the one with her hand raised to get the women underway here in the women's category. And the hand is being raised now. So very keen to get this race underway. She doesn't want to leave it too long. Obviously keen to get the last heat in the book so she can focus on the final. That will be coming up later on today. As we now watch them make their way around there at the top of the course. Coming through the long lap now is Eliska Matuskova. And the others are going to line up in behind her as well. You can just see there the number 4 belonging to Valentina Novotna. And the number 2 just behind Eliska Matuskova here is Mariana Navarova. In the white shirt, of course, in the pink will be Matuskova. As we said already, 3 times champion. Plenty of accolades against her name, and she's going to look to exercise that same skill once again here this time around. Of course, Emma Strukalova, also one to watch as a 2023 world champion. As they now look to take the start. Of course, they will be taking a left turn now. Getting into position. Of course, we have seen a few times now the starts having to be redone, just due to the sheer nature of being out of position. And if the marshals don't approve, they will let you know. A few runners are currently running about a sink here. As we now look for them to get into order. Just looking at the number 8 further back. Of course, belonging to Polina Karpova. The flag's raised at the moment. They might be set to get going here. No, they have to go again. The marshal declaring that they must round the course once more. So Matuskova once again with the arm raised, and the marshal just alerting the rest of the field, issuing some final instructions before they come through towards the start straight. But with 9 competitors going through each group so far, there's going to be a lot of spray, a lot of wash out there on the circuit for the riders to deal with. So do not be surprised if we see some mistakes here. It's of course prevalent to maintain the balance, and on uneasy waters, combined with the crosswind, can cause a few upsets. So now they come around that final corner now and up towards the line to get us underway here for the final heat in the women's category before we head to the finals later on this afternoon. Flag still up by the marshal. And it goes down, surfs up here in the women's Heat 4 as they come through towards turn 1 straight away. It's Aliska Matuskova out in front. Great start as well for Maria Navarova as well, who's in second. We got a board down in the water. Goodness me. So that's another one down here, this time in the women's category. But no concerns for Matuskova. She's out in front here, but looking to consolidate it. It's going to be tough, though. She's got plenty of others that are looking to follow through. And we've got a battle over second place. Very much brewing. Valentina Novotna very much part of this, as they now come down towards the final corner. This is the replay of the slip, as now we see as the hand is up. Here, it looks like the race has been red flagged here right now. So a red flag has been brought out by the marshals out on circuit. So the riders have to bring their boards back into Parc Fermé. And it looks like one of the riders is having to be collected by one of the marshals on the jet ski. Looked like a tough impact. Not quite sure where that came from, but immediately being attended to by the marshal. And goodness me, this is obviously, this is the intensive nature of the sport. As the riders wait on for news as to when they can go out, but the board's being returned now to that Parc Fermé position. Take a look at the moments again. Just trying to see who went down. Oh, two riders went down. The number 6 went down. That was Lee Yoon-jin, incidentally, in the white. So that was one of the runners. We now see Aliska Matuskova. Actually, no, this is Rosalia Janora from Poland making her way through. But obviously the marshals attending to the scene as they return the rider back through. I think it was Lee Yoon-jin who's found herself on the back of the board, and the marshal doing a great job making sure she's okay, and obviously she'll be attended to by some very skilled individuals. They now look to pick her up and take her out of the water. It just goes to show the intense nature of this sport. Obviously what the competitors have to deal with, but with the phenomenal crews that are on site here looking after our riders as they take to the water. Obviously that's what the medical staff are here to do, and obviously the UIM watching on, making sure everything goes as it should. As we now pan across and take a look at the sunshine peeling down across. Of course, the spectators watching on in their droves here at the Cheshmere Beach. enjoying the sunshine and everything else that comes with it, as well as the marshals now take the jet skis back out onto the course. But I'm still trying to work out as to who the other rider was that was involved in the collision. I think, by the looks of it, it did resemble what looked to be a pink shed. I'm not sure whether it was. Didn't think it was Rosalia Genora in the red, who obviously came back a little bit later on. But the two of them just came together through that first sector, making their way in towards the top of the course. But I think it was Li Yujin who got caught, probably the worst out of the pair. And therefore the marshals had to attend to the scene and just give her a helping hand in returning back to the shore. And that's exactly what they've done. We'll now wait for the riders to return. Obviously, they're still going to be busy attending to the moment that occurred just prior to just after the incident, I should say. But the wind's still maintaining a steady pace right now. Spectators starting to move their way back onto the beach to wait and observe the riders to head back out later on. Of course, just a little reminder as to our schedule for the day. Of course, it's not just the Heat 4s. Like I said, we are going to be having the finals later on this afternoon. Obviously, we kicked things off this morning with the junior boys category, where once again we witnessed Matches Barvik storming to victory. This was the moment again. So this is an opportunity for us to see exactly what had happened. So there was a tie-up. Now that does look like the pole of Polish rider. I would say Genora, Rosalia Genora, just down the inside. So yes, it must have been Genora who got tied up with Li Yujin. They were side by side for the start, with Li Yujin starting in 6th place and Genora starting in 7th. So that's why we're in this situation right now. But we will give you word as to when we're back up and running again, folks. But a little reminder of the schedule we do have today. Of course, we're right in the midst of the women's category. This is, of course, the Group A category we're currently in the midst of. But we've just completed Heat 4 juniors. And for the boys, obviously, Matijas Barvik doing the goods for his team and making it 4 consecutive first-place finishes for himself as well. We then moved on to the junior girls, where we witnessed Ellen Badova return to victory for the first time since Heat 1 yesterday, finishing ahead of Adela Pokarova after Nela Poznikova, despite starting in first place, took a tumble on the opening lap and therefore was reduced to the rear of the field, but did a brilliant job in fighting back for third place. We then witnessed the elite class head out in what was an action-packed race that was ultimately decided in the last 2 laps, because we witnessed the early 2 long laps being taken by Matej Kozicek, but he got swarmed up in behind the back markers, which cost him quite a lot of time. And Lukas Zahorski also suffering a similar affliction. At the end of the day, it was Maciej Novotny who left his final long lap to the second last lap of asking, and Alex Lukscheider who left his last long lap to the final lap of asking. They would both finish first and second, with Novotny finishing ahead of Lukscheider, and then Kozicek finishing in 3rd, with Zahorski in 4th. Dominik Kadlec finishing behind Yuri Wolf for the first time, finishing above 6th place here this weekend in 5th. And this, of course, has left us now with the women's Group A and Group B Heat 4. And Aliska Matuskova starting from that front-end position. Of course, the reigning 2-time MotoSurf back-to-back champion from 2023 to 2024, but she is a 3-time world champion in total, along with being a 3-time European champion, and went through a clean sweep of the heats back at the United Arab Emirates when we went to the Fujairah GP, finishing along with Anita Strukalova on equal points on 54. Well, Strukalova, a 4-time European champion and a 4-time World Championship runner-up, with Emma Strukalova as well, a 2023 World Champion, who also came away with 42 points, just 12 points behind our front runners. We can now see the activity starting to pick up at Parc Fermé. So we'll keep you updated as to the situation as it unfolds, folks. Obviously, you can see some of the women competitors there right in front. That includes Eliska Matuskova and Anita Strukalova as well. Emma Strukalova currently on the far side of the runners there. Just looking to get themselves focused once more. And never easy to see a fellow competitor perhaps not coming out of the water in the best condition. Obviously, we do wish Li Yunjin the speedy recovery. Hope that she'll be back with us soon. Obviously, it's like all sports. There's that balance of risk and reward, and certainly in the world of MotoSurf, it's no different. This is why we have the individuals we have on the scene with some superb marshals working away to ensure that best practices are performed, and the UIM obviously on site, just making sure everything goes as it should. But plenty of discussions and communications being had in between MotoSurf staff and the riders at the moment. The jet skis now being brought into shore for now. Still all quiet out there at the moment. Of course, we will keep you updated as to what unfolds as we bring it. Of course, there's still not a lot of activity out there on the water right now. But whilst we await to hear news as to when the riders go out, we'll just take a brief moment. And we'll be right back with you shortly. Well, you join us back here at Çeşme. We are here in Turkey, and we're just awaiting news on when we return to racing now shortly. Obviously, we can see there's still a very busy Parc Fermé. The marshals watching on from the side. Obviously, we want to extend and please, of course, wish Lee Yoon-jin the very best. Obviously, or should we say the rider that came across? I don't think it was Lee Yoon-jin, because I'm currently seeing that number 6 short on the sides. We will keep you updated as to what happened, but obviously after an incident to the competitor in the water in our opening race, we of course did see that Rosalia Genora was part of that fray, but looks like she came off okay. But obviously there was a moment in that race where the marshals had to attend to an incident out there on the course. Obviously a competitor was brought back to the beach, and obviously we wish them well on a speedy recovery here at the end of that first women's race for Heat 4 for today. Obviously we still have, supposed to have 2 group races to bring you, but at the moment we're just waiting for the adjudicators to come across to give the word as to when they're ready to go ahead. But as you can already see in the 202 down at the bottom, that is Rosalia Genora, who was in the midst of that impact. We saw a return to shore last minute, and can't be easy for any of the competitors out there, as we see Emma Striklova with helmet on, ready to go, and Eliska Matuskova also with her helmet on as well. Not with her helmet on, she's just having a sip of water just there on the left-hand side. But as you can imagine, certainly a lot of activity there in Parc Fermé as they get set ready to get back underway. Of course, we will have official word hopefully shortly, but we do appreciate you tuning in and sticking with us, folks, this morning. And thank you for your company as well this Sunday. Of course, today is finals day. We will be seeing the riders make their way out for the finals later on this afternoon, which will, of course, resume after the break in play at midday today. Of course, we do have the junior girls final kicking off later on. That will be just after 12:15, and they'll be undertaking 6 laps and also the 2 long laps as well on top of that. But they're now waiting to head back out again. They're now being asked to come to the water now, so we are going to be seeing the women's category kick off here. So here we go. These are the grid positions as we know it. Eliska Matuskova starting from P1 with Mariana Navarova in 2nd. We've got Emma Strikalova in 3rd, Valentina Novotná in 4th, Linda Lukscheider in 5th, and then Lee Yoon-jin in 6th place, Rosalia Genora in 7th, Polina Karpova in 8th, and Dinara Ibrahimova in 9th place. So there we are. They will take us through our first women's heat, which will be over 7 laps with the 2 long laps as well, as they look to head out. And of course, with the women looking for the best results they can muster to bring us, or certainly to bring this group to a close. We do of course have Group B coming up later on. We'll keep you updated as time goes on, folks at home. So now watch as they make their way out onto the course. Of course, it will be on Eliska Matuskova to bring the field into order and into line. There is Rosalia Genora. We hope that she's okay after that massive collision. I do believe it was Lee Yoon-jin who was caught up in that. There's our 2nd place rider, Maria Navarova. We'll be hoping for a really good start here. Of course, a rider that came 3rd in the World Championship back in 2023 and a World Champion in 2022, as well as a European Champion in 2022 alike, so knows how to win big prizes. She'll need all that experience again this time around too, as Rosalia Genora now looks to get back into full swing ahead of this final heat before we head into the finals later on. Of course, Eliska Matuskova will be hoping she can make it a clean sweep. Of course, it doesn't really matter regardless. Of course, one result does get stricken off in the heats. Obviously, a worse result gets removed. But for Eliska Matuskova, everything has been a victory so far, which means she will at least take 3 of them through to the final. There is number 4 of Valentina Novotná. making her way around the circuit too. Emma Striklova will be in the yellow, as you can just see on the right-hand side of screen. It's now hand up for Eliska Matuskova to get us underway for this Heat 4 Group A women's session. With alongside Maria Navarova, who's going to try and get a bright start here. So as they now come down through towards the back end of the course, and then will ultimately take a left turn as she now looks to muster all the riders forward to get into position. Obviously, they don't want another false start. They want to ideally try and get this one in the bag as soon as possible. And already some movements there from Rosalia Genora. She looks to reposition herself on the board and catch up with the remaining runners, as well as they now make their way around. Looks like they're going to have to go around again to undertake the start. So a little reminder as to how they line up. We've got Eliska Matuskova starting from that P1 position with Mariana Navarova in second, Emma Striklova in third, Valentina Novotná in fourth, Linda Lukscheider in fifth, Rosalia Genora in seventh, Polina Karpova lining up in that eighth place with Dinara Ibrahimova as well down in ninth. As they now look to take the back end of the course again. As they look to fan out and get position. Obviously, Rosalia Genora just behind those front runners there in the number 5 short is Linda Lukscheider on the far right. Of course, she'll be joined by Genora now just in behind her. And further back, just on the inside at the back, is Polina Karpova. As now the flag is raised by the marshal. It comes down, serves up here in Group A, Heat 4, here in the women's class. As now we watch them come through the first corner. Great start from Eliska Matuskova. Need we expect anything else with Maria Navarova also there as well? Emma Striklova favouring that inside line. As now further back we have a side-by-side battle between Linda Lukscheider as well as what looks to be Valentina Novotná as they now wheel through the slalom section. And Eliska Matuskova just keeping it dialed in for now. And now coming in towards the final corner to bring an end to the opening lap. She will hold on to that lead position. Within second place, Mariana Navarova. And in third place for Emma Striklova, Valentina Novotná and Linda Lukscheider disputing over that fourth place at the moment. As they now cross the line to start the next lap. Coming through the first corners. It is still, at the moment, Matuskova looking to consolidate this lead position. Remember, they do have those long laps to take. It'll be interesting to see whether anyone goes early. Of course, remember, they have 2 of them to fulfill. And indeed, already, we will not see Eliska Matuskova go first. Will anyone look to take that long lap? First and foremost, it doesn't look like it. Everyone now going through the course as normal. No one on that long lap, at least as far as I can see. Oh, no, there is one. I think it might be Valentina Novotná who has gone on that long lap for now. So as we watch as Matuskova now flies through the final corner to begin the next lap of asking. Lap 3. Still plenty more to come. Plenty of opportunities as well for a tide, well, certainly for a twist in the tail. So now they weave their way through the first sector. Matuskova with a healthy lead ahead of Navarova right now, with Emma Striklova just in behind the second place sitter. It looks like we've had a rider in the water as well, I think. Emma Striklova, I think, might have taken a tumble. As now we see the hand raised by Striklova, or Matuskova, I should say, making her way through the black boys, marked, of course, in both red and, of course, luminous yellow. She's not the only one to take it, though, because we've got Mariana Navarova also opting for that long lap. So it's Matuskova who is ultimately now the leader on the long lap. Of course, she will fall down the field as a result, with other runners remaining out onto the course. As we watch Mariana Navarova now undertaking through the slalom. Still giving chase after the, should we say, net race leader for now. That could very easily change. Eliska Matuskova, though, very experienced at the highest level. She now crosses the line to begin the next lap. Here is as well the number 2 of Mariana Navarova, just guiding the board through the first sector. on this next stint. Weaving through the rights and lefts, and now right at the hairpin through this red buoy, just immediately patting it out the way, just so she can carry on. Now through the next left she will go. As we see the 5 board of Linda Lutscheider currently out there now on that back straight, entering the slalom in the not too distant future now, as we see Matuskova still weaving through the boards, is our multi-time world champion and European champion to boot. As we said, clean sweep back at the Fujairah GP, looking to make it a clean sweep once again, this time at Cheshire. Looks like she is still in very dominant form right now, and is raising her hand again for this additional long lap. It looks like there was a rider in the water as well elsewhere. Not quite sure who that was. But just jumping straight back onto the board. Doesn't look like it's any of our front runners for now, but plenty of activity on in that final portion of the course. But Matuskova still going to be very much a thorn in the side of many out there on the course. It's Mariana Navarova. Looks to hunt her down. There is Linda Lutscheider coming through now. As across the line comes Eliska Matuskova. Coming through the first sector. Now once again with a reasonable advantage to the rider behind. Of course, Navarova still second at the moment. Linda Lutscheider in third. Of course, Rosalia Ginora recovering after that big incident we saw just prior to this race restart. Giving a grand account in 4th place. Of course, she's historically finished in 5th and 7th twice. Finishing 7th in Heat 2 and Heat 3. Following the 5th place finish in Heat 1. Qualifying 13th for the start of the day as Linda Lutscheider makes her way through now. There is our P1 sitter. The second long lap being taken by Eliska Matuskova. She now looks to rejoin the course. In fact, now coming out of that and around the final slalom, where she'll then undertake the next lap here at this point in this final heat in the women's Group A category. Of course, we will have Group B coming up next. And we'll see Anna Strukalova as well, the rival of Eliska Matuskova, make her way around the course as well as they now come through this next lap. Matuskova still with the advantage. There's the number 2 of Mariana Navarova just crossing the line, quite a ways behind our leader right now. She's just been so dialed in and clinical through every corner. Now coming around the red buoy as well, Linda Lutscheider also doing a fantastic job. 3rd place at the moment ahead of Emma Strukalova. Right now, white flag has been waved by the marshals on the side of the course. So we will be seeing the last laps come through now. Eliska Matuskova will be hoping to consolidate this for yet another victory, an impressive one at that. 4 victories in a row in heat competition. And it looks like she's taken the checkered flag. Seems to be a Maria Navarova coming across the line 2nd. And looks like it might be the day done. Linda Lutscheider coming through the final bend as well. And that's 3rd place, it would seem. Our winner, Eliska Matuskova, here in the first group, Group A of Heat 4, here in the women's category. So Linda Lutscheider finishing ahead of Emma Strukalova. But the winner for a 4th consecutive heat is Eliska Matuskova, as the checkered flag is waved by the marshal on the side of the course. It's another victory going her way, another clean sweep to follow suit from our first round back at Fujairah GP. Eliska Matuskova is your winner
Mariana Navarova in second, Linda Luke-Schneider finishing in third, Rosalia Janora in fourth, with Emma Strukalova in fifth, Dinara Abramimova in sixth place, with Valentina Novotna seventh, Polina Karpova in eighth, and of course Li Yujin, who we wish well and hope to have a speedy recovery, not taking part in that one after her incident in the first start of that race. And of course we do send well wishes, of course, from everyone here at Cheshire Beach. We now watch as our winner from that last race, Aliska Matuskova, making her way through the slalom. As we said, a clinical performance that we've come to expect from someone as so talented as her. Obviously already a 3-time world champion, a 3-time European champion, would love to become the women's champion for a third year running, because of course a winner in 2023 and 2024 here in the women's category of the MotoSurf World Championship. I'm sure she would love to make it 3 in a row since 2023, with Anita Sacharova winning back in 2022. But a remarkable effort from the Rocket Racing MP Sports racer. She'll now take to the shore now, and it will be the turn of Group B to head straight out onto the course. And we will see Anita Strukalova starting from P1, along with Zara Zubarova starting second. Laura Markova in third, with Elisabetta Faitova in fourth. Barbara Kolarova in fifth, with Adela Ostriklova in sixth place. Sara Wolfova in seventh, with Anna Burke from the United States in eighth. And Melody Kaptanoglu starting ninth place, of course hailing from Turkey. So that'll be 7 laps again, with 2 long laps to be taken, as we now wait for the runners to head out onto the course here in this second round of the MotoSurf World Championship. And as the runners from Group A now bring their boards back to the shore and into Parc Ferme, and then later into the paddock, they will review everything that's gone on. But Anita Strukalova will be the next one, obviously looking to bid for a third successive victory to basically remove the second place that she secured back in Heat 1, therefore leaving her with 3 victories, much like Aliska Matuskova. Of course, going against the likes of Sara Zubarova, who's been phenomenal in the past as well. It's going to be an ultimate challenge. We now watch as the riders now take to the water. Sara Zubarova, they're in the pink there, just in behind. And there's Mariana Navarova watches on, just having a few words with her team, with the crew on the side of the water, as the second group heads out. Group B now, of course, with Anita Strukalova leading the line this time around. There is Zubarova just attaching the necessaries to the board, and then she will mount it and get ready to head out for their 4th heat of the weekend, leading through to the finals. Anna Burke, also from the United States, joining the contingent out there as well, looking for a strong finish after achieving 7th place in Heat 1, and back-to-back 8th places ahead of Melody Kaptanoglu as well. But one of the shining lights could be Laura Markova here, who finished second back in Heat 3, will be starting third on the grid, as we now see Anita Strukalova making her way around the course. And for the women, of course, taking part here, this is for women over 15 years of age. Can only use the boards that are supplied by Jet Surf Race DFI, models from 2021 to 2025. So they've all got the same technology underneath them ahead of their races here in the MotoSurf World Championship. As now Anita Strukalova, I should say, has her hand raised to join the line and form up ahead of the start of the race. So we got the Czech rider Anita Strukalova met with the Slovakian Zara Zubarova, as they now run side by side. You can now see the runners lining up there, of course, on the inside of Strukalova will be Sara Zubarova. So those two are going to go side by side, no doubt, and tussle for the lead spot. Also joining them, Laura Markova in the blue, representing Rocket Racing. As they now line up appropriately now. The marshal with the flag in the air. Getting set ready to start this second group race. And it looks like they're going around again. So they're going to be setting them off again for a second start here for the Group B contingent. And the marshal's just making sure they're all lined up appropriately. Obviously something that he weren't happy with in order to allow that start to go ahead. Just breaking that V formation. Of course, it's carefully watched and monitored by the marshals out there on the course. Of course, Anita Strukalova qualifying fastest on Friday. That put her in the position to take second for the first heat. Would have probably wanted the result that Zara Zubarova managed to nail from that one. Of course, Zubarova started third for that one. But again, qualifying doesn't necessarily assure you a victory. Depends on how you apply yourself during the long laps and also during the course of the race as well. If you get stuck behind back markers, it could be anything, many different factors that are involved. As now the marshal raises the flag once more. Does it come down or does it spin? We'll soon find out. They're going again for another formation run. So we'll have another restart here in the Group B category for the women's Heat 4. Anna Strukalova still with the arm up, just alerting the rest of the runners to line up as they should. Hopefully third time's the charm this time as we wait for them to take to the straight leading up to the start-finish line. As they come towards the final corner before taking the straight. A little reminder, of course, we've got Anita Strukalova starting from P1 with Zara Zubarova in second, Laura Markova third, Elisabetta Fajtova in fourth, Barbara Kolarova in fifth with 6 for Adela Ostriklova. That's your top 6 here in this lineup. As the marshal raises the flag. Here and now ready for the start of this race and surfs up here in Group B, here in the women's Heat 4. And it is going to be Anita Strukalova who takes the lead at the moment with Zara Zubarova remaining in that second spot with Laura Markova in third. Further back, we got side-by-sides coming through, the first of the boys as well. 3 wide now coming in towards this next left-hander, and already some dodging and weaving as they come through the slalom. One of them getting checked and losing a couple of places as well on the wash. And that looked to be the number 7 of Sara Wolfova, unfortunately getting slightly halted coming through the slalom. But now as they make their way through, it's still our race leader, Anita Strukalova, taking the first lap. In second, Zara Zubarova, with just in behind, we've got the third and fourth place runners of Laura Markova and Elisabetta Fajtova as well as they come through the first sector on this next lap. Lap 2 now in full swing. And the rocket racing of Laura Markova not getting a bad start at all. As they now breeze through on this opening lap. Will we see that early long lap taken again? This time around, we'll wait and see. Obviously at the moment, no changes. Zara Zubarova sticking to the course, along with Anita Strukalova as well. Not quite seeing anyone taking that long lap right now. Looks like they're all going to maintain the same course. But as they now make their way past Anna Burke, just crossing the line as well, obviously getting held up right at the starts, and makes her way around on her next lap. As now we watch as Anita Strukalova comes around the final corner. Zara Zubarova just in behind her by mere meters. One mistake is all it takes, and Zara Zubarova be hoping that she'll come out fortuitous in some manner, whether that be her choice of lap to take the long lap. We'll soon see as to whether we'll see our first one now. Of course, Anita Strukalova, she crosses the timing line. She raises her hand. She will indeed take the long lap this time. So here we go. The first of 2 that they've got to take. Anita Strukalova now coming through the black boys and now through towards the in-swinger, which will lead her towards the long straight. She's not going to be faced with any back markers right now, so it's fairly clean wash that she's going to be met with, so nothing too turbulent. It will be Zara Zubarova, though, who takes the lead up now. Now, whether does she respond to Anita Strukalova coming in for that first long lap, we'll have to wait and see. There is, of course, Laura Markova in the number 3 short. She's getting really aggressive to every single boy. Just losing her balance there slightly, though. Doesn't want to make too many mistakes. Does the Rocket Racing competitor. As they now make their way through this first sector again. Waiting to see if we see some changes with the long lap being taken. We are seeing a long lap being taken by Zubarova now, so she will forfeit that race lead. But the question is, will it be, of course, Anita Strukalova taking that net race lead back? We will, of course, wait and see. There is Zubarova, and she is behind Strukalova at this point, but they are fairly tight together. Zubarova getting a better long lap in, you'd fathom. And now they're going to take alternate sides of the course in a bid to try and find the better wash. So Strukalova in the red and blue. We've got the number 4 at the moment, though, of Elisabetta Vaitova, who's going long at the moment on her stint. So we watch our net race leaders now come around the final corner. There is Anita Strukalova being met in behind by Zara Zubarova, who crosses the line now behind the original pole sitter. As they come through the first sector again, obviously they still have one more long lap to take. So now Elisabetta Vaitova continues on her run. Now, is she going to opt to take the long lap? It doesn't look like she is. No long lap here for Vaitova. She's going to have to muscle in 2 then towards the bitter end. She's just hoping that something goes her way, I think, later into the stints. And already we're seeing a long lap being taken elsewhere. Now, that looked like, whether that was Anita Strukalova, I don't think it was, because it looks like she's still out there on the track and continuing around the course. So now Elisabetta Vaitova comes around the final corner in the 4 short to take the next lap again this time. Of course, Elisabetta Vaitova representing Apex Pilots. So now Strukalova comes through the first sector again, weaving through the S-bends. Obviously, the second long lap will be the next conversation, whether they choose to take it now. Of course, the white flag won't be too far away. As they now come into the hairpin. We're now going to be seeing a long lap here, finally taken by Elisabetta Vaitova. And bear in mind, she's going to have 2 to take, so I can see her doing the next one straight away as well. We'll of course, wait and see whether that is the case. Should be hoping that she's done enough, and it also looks like Strukalova's doing hers now as well. But remember, this is Strukalova's second lap. Vaitova only on her first, so there will be another one taken by Elisabetta Vaitova. As they now come through, and I would imagine this probably leaves Zara Zubarova out on the course. And yes, it does, so she will now retake that lead back. And I would imagine, no doubt, she will be looking to take the long lap again this time to counteract, and the white flag is indeed out. So Zubarova on the final lap. This is going to be a crucial one. She won't be the only one doing this, because Elisabetta Vaitova is going to be doing hers as well. So now they come around the final corners. We're seeing more and more of them cross the line. That is, of course, Strukalova on her next run. Of course, she doesn't need to take another long lap, so this is going to be very tight. Of course, Zubarova now moving on to her next long lap. We're going to see whether they come out together. Just keeping my eyes peeled on where they might come out. Of course, Elisabetta Vaitova currently in front of her. Surely has to take that next long lap. And yes, she has. So that's going to leave Strukalova out in front right now. But where is Zubarova in all of this? That is also the big question. So now they weave through the slalom. Strukalova in front. It so seems. So now they weave through the final corners. Or is it going to be Zubarova? No, it's going to be Strukalova with a dominant performance. Anita Strukalova wins for a 3rd successive time in the heats. A brilliant performance. And that will mean she'll cancel out that Heat 1 result, meaning that it's a perfect trio to align herself with Eliska Matuskova at the end of both women's heats. Around the final corner also comes the number 3 of Laura Markova as well. She comes across the line to complete her race. But it's Anita Strukalova who wins here in Heat 4 of the Group B women's race, the final Heat 4 from the women's category. And next up for them will be the finals. Here are the results. Anita Strukalova, your winner at the end of the Group B Women's Heat 4 race, with Zara Zubarova finishing in second, Laura Markova finishing in third, with Elizabeta Faitova, who tried something different from everybody else, finishing in fourth. Barbara Kolarova in fifth. Then we have Adela Ostriklova in sixth place. Sara Vulfova in seventh. Next is Anna Burke in eighth. And then we have Melody Captain-Oglu down in ninth place. So that's the women's category complete. And we now move on now to our next category, which will see the Masters head out on to the circuit for the first of their runs here this time. But a fantastic effort from, in fact, it'll be the stock coming up next, then Masters, but a fantastic performance from Anita Strukalova to come away with a phenomenal win. There is our second place runner, Zara Zubarova, who did what she could to try and take the victory in her own right, but at the end of the day, a fist pump, and for good reason, going the way of Anita Strukalova, a third successive win in the heats. She won Heat 2, Heat 3, and now Heat 4 to make it 3 out of 4, but the all-important 3 wins will be enough to maximise her points levy heading through to the final. As we now look towards the actual stock category racing now, and it will be Hassan Bouaba starting on pole position for this one, alongside Kim Down as well, with Adam Janasek in third, Jan Tremencek in fourth, with Miroslav Kops in fifth, Ismail Captain-Oglu in sixth, with Vladimir Randall in seventh. We've got David Kirchke in eighth for Stock R, Mike Miklidis for Stock R as well in ninth, Lorenzo Tander in position A in Stock R, with Ali Nagis as well in B position in Stock R. So there we are. Those are our runners ahead of our next race here in the Stock and Stock R category Group A. 6 laps with the 2 long laps to be taken. So that'll be over in quick as a flash. There is Kim Min Sung there in the bottom left in the number 2 short. Of course, we'll be seeing him later on as well. He'll be lining up second behind Anthony Squire for our Group B stock class race. That's going to be a furious fight in particular as well. Of course, Hassan Bouabis was in the midst of controversy himself involving Kim Min Sung in yesterday's race. He was brandished with 2 yellow cards, meaning that he was certainly had his positions removed after coming across the line yesterday in first place. Kim Min Sung managed to finish the race despite obviously suffering a little issue with his stomach after a little bit of a contact between the two of them. But still, despite the issues that he'd faced, Kim Min Sung coming across the line, and after the penalty was given to Hassan Bouabis, it would go Kim Min Sung's way, and he took victory in the stock Group B class. So brilliant stuff from Kim Min Sung, incredible tenacity, and that's what you need to become a top-class MotoSurf racer. As now the riders take to the water. Hassan Bouabis with a point to prove. Obviously losing that victory was, I can imagine, difficult to take. He's been so good through the course of the championship, certainly here in this second round in Türkiye. And we'll see whether he has enough to at least make it 3 wins. But of course, the other ruling that is in place here in the MotoSurf Championship is if you are disqualified, if you lose a position, it doesn't count towards your 1 drop score, so you will still lose another drop score. So that's essentially 2 races lost, which of course will apply negatively in a point sense towards the end of the heat phase. So that's going to be a challenge for a lot of riders to work out. But Hassan Bouabis, who has, like I said, largely been impressive, phenomenal performances in qualifying, going fastest. And obviously, in our conversations that we have had with, of course, the current leader in the heats in the elite class, of course, Matej Kozicek, alluding to the fact that many of these runners in the stock class will eventually find themselves into the elite lineup, which will be exciting in itself, because of course with the likes of Anthony Squire, who is somewhat of a major personality here in the MotoSurf World Championship, but also with the likes of Hassan Bouabis, these are 2 names that you certainly have no doubt would perform brilliantly in elite class. But we will of course wait and see. Hassan Bouabis with his arm up, awaiting the remainder of the runners to join him for the start of this stock and stock R race. Hassan Bouabis, of course, representing the Q8C Sport Club and his home nation of Q8 as well, taking 46 points in his last visit back
at Fajira GP. Comes into this round as well if we compare the heat numbers between the two of them. Anthony Squire, of course, was the best performer back at Fajira. So we'll be seeing him later on in Group B, where he'll be leading the line for them. But Boabas leading Kim Down, who was the second best performer back at Fajira as well, muscling in 50 points and 4 points more than Hassan Boabas. But that is a trend that Boabas is keen to prevent. And this is going to be an extraordinary tussle between these two greats. Of course, Kim Down, a multi-time champion, a winner in stock back in 2022, champion of stock. And then Kim Min-sung took it back-to-back. So we now await for them to race up for the first of the stock class. And it looks like they're going to have to go around again because they're turning the flag around, so they will have to reform to set the grid ahead of the next run. So they'll now peel through the top of the course. And then back down to reshape. There is Kim Down. Of course, like I said, a champion in stock class back in 2022. And not only that, has performed mightily well in Masters as well. And we will be seeing him in Masters later on. Of course, achieved the best places in Masters back at Fujira when he went to win three out of the 4 races, all 3 of them being the last races during that stint as well. But Kim Down, a Masters class world champion and a stock class runner-up last year as well. Stock class world champion in 2022, however. And knows how to win titles, that's for sure. As now the runners make their way around once more. Obviously still yet to form up as they should. Be Hassan Boabas who will be leading the line. But the marshal's just alerting the direction for Hassan Boabas, just communicating to him to take the wider line. Now telling everyone to line up into position. So Hassan Boabas now leads them through towards the straight. So they all line up. We await for the marshal to give the instruction. So they wait for the flag to come down in the distance. And they're going to have to go around again to line up. Obviously not happy with the lineup there are the marshals. So Hassan Boabas will take them through once again. For the formation lap, there is Boabas now. Just waiting for the rest to catch up. Kim Down is going to be looking for a big start as well to try and take Hassan Boabas down, but that's going to be one very tricky matter to cope with. Of course, with the form that Boabas has shown, obviously achieving that first fastest lap time in qualifying on Friday. Then put him in the perfect position to challenge for the race wins then sequentially afterwards. So now they look to get into position once again. Hassan Boabas lining up alongside Kim Down, Adam Janasek as well in third. Watch out for Jan Travnicek. That was a name that Matej Kovacek was very insistent to watch on for the starters. Now the flag comes down and surfs up here in Heat 4 of stock class for Group A. And Hassan Boabas getting a decent run as well. Kim Down also looking to perhaps pounce on his rival up at the very front end as now they form up, heading through the next left at the moment. Still Hassan Boabas leading the way, getting very tight and very low onto the course as they now weave through the slalom. There's going to be some very tight moments in between the positions for P3 at the moment. Also further back at P4 as well as they look to tussle their way through the final corners. Here comes Hassan Boabas now. Still leading the way, Kim Down in second place. Next up, third is Adam Janasek. As fourth place goes to Jan Travnicek. As well as in behind, a great start for David Kirchka, who has now moved up into fifth place. Behind Jan Travnicek and ahead of Miroslav Kops as they now head through the first sector, and it's Hassan Boabas He'll now hit the hairpin at the red buoy. Now the question is, will he go for that long lap right now? Of course, here in the stock car category, 2 long laps must be taken throughout the 6 laps that they will undertake. It looks like Boabis is going to stick to the typical course line at the moment. Doesn't want to go for that early long lap. So it looks like a couple of others have opted to go early on the long lap so far. And yes, they have. They now come up towards the final corners. Hassan Boabis now coming up to the final buoy on the course. Kim Down following him through. And also is the number 3 belonging to Adam Janacek, with the number 4 of Jan Travnicek as well in the midst of this too. The number 5 of Miroslav Kopsler reforming in behind the 4th place rider. So David Kirchke looking to go a different line as we now watch them come through the first sector again. There is, of course, the number 3 short of Adam Janacek. No question, we'll see definitely some of the runners go for that long lap now. Hassan Boabis a little bit uncomfortable over the wash coming off the back of the opening sector. Will undertake his way through the long lap of the course. I think Kim Down might be taking going the normal course line. I don't think he's taking the long lap just yet. Of course, Hassan Boabis, after doing it the first time, he's going to have to do it twice over. There is Kim Down. He will be in front for the next lap. Or will he? Yes, he will. Just in behind the P6 rider of Ismail Captain Oglu, who is a back marker in this instance, as now he watches Hassan Boabis comes around the final few corners. In front of him is, of course, Miroslav Kops. So we should overtake Kops later on through the course of the second long lap. Kim Down, I'm sure, will be looking to respond straight away by ushering in his own long lap. We'll see how bunched up they get together, but Boabis just gliding his board through. Looks like there's a competitor that's come off there as well, but Kim Down coming through the black boys as we now watch him make his way towards the hairpin at the very end of that straight, and now he'll come through the black rounded gates in an effort to catch up with Boabis at the moment. Now, where has he come out in comparison? Has he come out too far behind? Obviously, we know Kim Down to be a huge competitor in the MotoSurf Championship, a multi-time champion. But it looks like Boabis has got the upper hand, I would say. Coming through this first sector, we've got the long lap also being taken by the number 4 of Jan Travnicek. So now Hassan Boabis comes across the line. Kim Down still locked on behind him, but the gap has developed ever so slightly as Boabis looks to move his way past some of the back markers. But right in the wash of it at the moment, just keen to continue onwards. Kim Down is going to have to get past the B marker of Ali Nagis in order to at least recover some of the deficit between him and Hassan Boabis so far. But Boabis doing a great job so far as we watch some of the rear guard runners. Of course, the number 8 of David Kirchke in the purple shirt. As they now come through this time. And it looks like Kim Down has opted for that second long lap already. So that'll be his second one completed. So Hassan Boabis is going to be tasked with trying to break past him. And we'll have to do that last long lap here with the white flag out on the final lap. So big mission now for Hassan Boabis, who is still lapping around some of the back markers. Now, is he going to be slowed up by this bunch? The number 9 of the man from Cyprus, Mike Michaelidis, was right in front of him there. Let's see whether this causes a problem for the runners now as Hassan Boabis makes his way through and does undertake that long lap now. So where does Kim Down come out in this? Has already completed his 2 long laps. So they're going to come out almost together. And, of course, Boabis was locked in with a few back markers as well. So let's wait and see as they now come around. There is the number 3 of Adam Janacek. He's now storming through this next right-hander. Looking to round the next left, the final left-hander before he takes the last lap on the course. There's Kim Down. At the moment, still fiercely trying to compete with Hassan Boabis. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, though. It looks like Boabis is going to be back on top once again in brilliant style. As majestic as they come. Has won many races through the course of this weekend. Well, he takes another in Heat 4. That's victory
for the Kuwaitian. Hassan Bouabis takes victory here in Turkey. Brilliant result for him from the Kuwaiti rider. Kim Down will finish in second place, with third going the way, we believe, of Jan Travanicek. We'll have to confirm that, but it looks like Lorenzo Tanda finished very strongly towards the very last minute. So well done, the Italian. But I think would have ultimately have to have taken that long lap later on. But Hassan Bouabis is your race winner, with Kim Down in second. Lorenzo Tanda does finish third ahead of David Kirchke. Adam Janacek in fifth, with Jan Travanicek in sixth. Miroslav Kops in seventh, with Mike Michaelidis in eighth place, with Vladimir Andel. And then Ishmael Kaptanoglu with Ali Nagis in 11th place. So that concludes the stock Heat 4 for Group A. We will be moving through now towards Group B, where Anthony Squire will, of course, be leading the line for the team. But a great effort by all riders concerned. There is Jan Travanicek, who, of course, was looking to finish higher up the order. Definitely looked like P3 was on the cards. This was a side-by-side moment between Hassan Bouabis trying to get past some of the other runners. That was the Cyprus racer, Mike Michaelidis. But nothing could stop Hassan Bouabis again. Another victory coming his way, despite the yellow cards given to him after the big collision with Kim Min-sung yesterday. He's come back brilliantly and is now on top again for Heat 4 here in this stock Group A encounter. We're now going to be moving through to the Group B contest now, as the riders bring the boards into Parc Fermé. We'll witness the next group head out. There is, of course, the number 5 of Miroslav Kops, just putting his board on the stilts. This is the lineup ahead of Group B here in the stock category Heat 4. Anthony Squire starting from P1, with Kim Min-sung starting in second, Adam Fitchek in third, with Damien Kadlec fourth, Han Tai-hee in fifth, with Jan Mitoska in sixth, Thomas Stepanek in seventh, with Adam Kohler in eighth place. Next up, Fares Ramadan in ninth, and Ender Jorgenschila will be starting from the A position, with Liam Maisau in B position as well from Macau. So a combination of stock and stock cars to take us through this this race that we're going to be witnessing in stock category Group B. And of course, a really good, promising performance from the likes of Lorenzo Tanda in that last race will give a huge bounce of confidence towards those competing at stock car this weekend. No question, we're going to be looking at the likes of Fares Ramadan, who is, of course, a former junior boy champion and has arrived here into the world of stock racing, or the stock category racing here in MotoSurf, and showing that he's definitely one to watch for the future. We're looking to stick it to some of these more experienced groups that include the likes of Anthony Squire, who is a three-time North American champion. I do apologise. 2022, 23, and 24. As we now move across. Nothing quite as scenic as, of course, the Çeşme region here in Turkey. Of course, 85 kilometers outside of the Izmir region. And we are here on the Aegean Sea. And as the riders get ready to go again, some of them wanted to experience the water more than others, it would seem. Hassan Bouabis just giving himself a bit of a wash down after the grueling and physical Group A session in the stock class category. Of course, we spoke again to Matej Kozicek, and he mentioned how, you know, your muscles, every part of your body is burning after an immense race. And he said, obviously, coming into the finals, the riders are going to be really put to the test, because every single race, the lap counts go up. It's going to be a challenge for the riders to maintain the same levels of performance, with obviously their leg muscles burning, their back muscles burning. And equally, as they look to move around, just trying to coordinate their balance is going to be absolutely massive. But next up is, of course, that Group B lineup. for the stock category for Heat 4. Anthony Squire will be starting from first position with Kim Min-sung in second place. Adam Fitchek, one to watch, Damien Kadlec, Han Tai-hee, as well as Jan Mitoska, Thomas Stepanek, Adam Kohler, as well as Fares Ramadan and Ender Jorgenschila and Maisio Liam as well, starting from that B spot towards the back. But there's the number 5 of Han Tai-hee, now coming through the course, just getting himself ready and set for this highly competitive race. I would expect Anthony Squire to lead the line and effectively look to yet another victory. He has been absolutely stellar through the course of this weekend and looking to follow suit from last time out at Fujairah, where he came away with maximum points through the heat phase. Of course, no final back at Fujairah last time, but there will be this time. And with Anthony Squire currently leading that championship at the moment, I'm sure he'll be looking to bring it home in good style. There he is there in the number 1 short. One of the main figureheads in the world of MotoSurf. Has built quite the reputation as a top competitor. No question we should be seeing him, I'm sure, in elite category next season. And being that multi-time champion, definitely a danger to every rider on this course. But we'll soon find out as to whether they can be brought into contest with the likes of Kim Min-sung, who is, of course, a back-to-back stock champion in 23 and 24. Of course, we do want to extend our warmest regards to IZELTAS, as well as the many partners that are part of the MotoSurf World Championship, the Sport Auto, as well as TMF and GMF, as well as JetSurf, Doc now, and also credit to the UIM, MSR, Alpine, as well as Burner, Fly Me Too, as well as many of the others. We do appreciate their time, Total Energies, and fun as well. Anthony Squire looking to get this next race underway. Of course, this category restricted to the board sizes of the JetSurf Titanium DFI, so all the same technology as they make their way across the line very soon. Well, now as they look to take the circuit once more, of course, we do want to extend our appreciation to the UIM for all their support in backing the championship with everything they have done for us as a championship. Of course, recognising it back in 2019, the UIM International Motor Nautique, and of course, recognised by the IOC here, the International Olympic Committee. Since 2010 is MotoSurf as a championship, and also big shout outs to IZELTAS as well. But it's now the Jet Surface now make their way around for another formation lap. Anthony Squire not getting off the line over that last period. The marshals asking them to go again as they make their way through the final parts on the course. And he'll be hoping to get away this time around. I'm sure Anthony Squire doesn't want to be lingering for too much longer. Of course, he's a very driven human being, just wants to get on with it, really. Wants to ensure that the race goes ahead with minimal complaints as they look to line up and form up. He has, of course, got plenty of company with him. Kim Min-sung is going to be a very vibrant competitor. We saw him coming toe-to-toe with Hassan Bouabas before the incident occurred towards the closing stages of yesterday's Heat 3 race. And they're being asked to go again this time. So Anthony Squire now conferring with the rest of the group, asking who is out of position. And just alerting a few of them, just to let them know that where they need to be. As they now look to undertake the course once more. And a little bunny hop there for fun as well from Anthony Squire, just using some of those choppy waves that are out there just for some extra air time. Of course, it is picking up more of a breeze here. I can tell you that in our commentary position, the
Actual gazebo itself is rocking right now with the amount of wind that is being palpitated around here at beachside. Then we watch as the riders make their way around the final corner, and Anthony Squire will once again be looking to get them underway. Kim Min-sung alongside him as now Squire alerts the runners to go straight. And now they'll form up into position in the V shape, ready for the start of this second group. Group B here in the Heat 4 of the stock. And they're having to go again as well. Kim Min-sung straight away. Not happy with that whatsoever. Obviously was looking around him to see what caused it. But yeah, they're going to have to go again around the course once more. I think Anthony Squire almost shaking his hand in frustration as well. Would much prefer to get this race underway. Of course, we do have a busy schedule to bring you through this morning as well. Of course, this is the last of the stocks before we head into Masters, where we'll witness two groups again with 6 laps, again with 2 long laps to be taken. And of course, this afternoon we will have the junior girls and junior boys in the first final coming up later on too, as we now watch as the riders now make their way towards the left-hander once more. Anthony Squire having a look around him once again, flicking the arm out straight away, obviously hoping that this time of all times this will be the one to get them on their way. Obviously it can be frustrating for all riders concerned, obviously just trying to push their boards into the correct positions. Kim Min-sung right between the riders in 1 and 2 of Anthony Squire and Fitcheck, and surfs up here in Group B, here in stock class Group B, Heat 4, and just a little bit of an unbalanced moment there for Adam Fitcheck. He got it all wrong, and it looks like we have lost one. Is that Anthony Squire? No, it can't be. Surely not. Just to see an American board, it doesn't look like it was. Anthony Squire is still out there on track, it would seem, coming through the slalom though. And an upset there for the number 6 of Jan Matoska. That may be a USA coloured board, but that is not him. That's Jan Matoska who has gone into the water, as now we watch Anthony Squire coming around the final corner and across the line to commence the second lap of asking. He's being closely pursued by Kim Min-sung, who is there in behind as well. The third place man, Adam Fitcheck, who got a little bit caught at the start, has now dropped into 4th behind Damien Kadlec, who is now up into 3rd place. So we now watch the riders come through the first part of the course now, weaving through towards the hairpin. Now, do they choose to take that long lap first? Anthony Squire, it looks like, is going to stay out and continue on the course, but Kim Min-sung immediately going for that long lap. So a very early decisive moment from Kim Min-sung. 2nd place at the moment on the long lap. So we now watch them make their way through this course. There is Kim Min-sung now in the number 2 short, recovering after the collision with Hassan Boabas yesterday. Looks in fine fettle today, as now Anthony Squire whips the tail on his jet surfboard this time and flies into the first sector once again. Now, will he respond to Kim Min-sung straight away and opt for that long lap? I'd imagine he would. So now we're seeing, oh my goodness me, that is Adam Fitcheck into the water. He's had a very difficult start to this race today. Lost position to Damien Kadlec right at the get-go, and now he's fallen. So therefore he will lose time to the other, not only the boards in front of him, but also open up opportunities for those behind to attack, as now Anthony Squire does take the long lap in response to Kim Min-sung. So there we go. We'll see them come out together very shortly. Kim Min-sung already on his next lap now, making his way towards the hairpin. He'll come toe-to-toe with Anthony Squire, I'm sure of it, as he now comes in towards the hairpin. How close will they be? Coming out through the gates. I would say that Anthony Squire definitely came out ahead, I think. There he is now, coming into the slalom. And Kim Min-sung just behind him. You can just see him there in the orange, the top that is orange coated. It's the flag of the USA leading the way, with Anthony Squires at the helm. And he crosses the line to begin his next lap. Still one more long lap for both of our front runners to take. Who's going to be the first to plumb for it, of course? Anthony Squire weaving
right and left. I mean, if he doesn't go for it, that would automatically, I think, open the door here for Kim Min-sung to perhaps opt for that long lap. Fares Ramadan, currently listed at the top of the screen, obviously still to take his long lap so far. So now we see if there's any decisive moments. Kim Min-sung is going for the long lap. So once again, going in a different line to Anthony Squires, much like the first time they disputed the long lap. Squires went second, Kim Min-sung went first, and now Kim Min-sung the first out of the two to take the long lap for the second time. As now he comes through the back part of the long lap course, and now through the gates to rejoin, and he's having to dodge and weave against some traffic as well. Yet another rider in the water. As now Anthony Squires starts his next lap, and no doubt this time he's going to look to respond with that same long lap coming through the next right-hander. Now he's going to meet the left, and there's the number 7 of Thomas Stepanek. He must have been the one that ventured into the water. He's just checking his board as well, it seems, as he makes his way around. As we now watch his Anthony Squire. Will he choose to take the long lap once again this time? Looks like he's committing, I think, to this particular lap, or is he? No, he's taking the long lap. So Anthony Squires, again responding to Kim Min-sung's long lap, will take his now. So this is a very crucial moment in the race, because this will decide, surely, as to who our winner is likely to be. Kim Min-sung now coming through. Just watch him there in the orange. He's stuck behind some back markers, and Anthony Squires, with absolute ease, will hold position ahead of Kim Min-sung. So it's Anthony Squires out in front, but Kim Min-sung hot on his heels. They will undertake the slalom. Of course, there's wash in both lanes at the moment for Kim Min-sung to deal with. But Kim Min-sung straight away now looking to pounce. He's really unleashed his raw energy here. They're almost side by side coming into the final, boys. My goodness. And Anthony Squires looking around him as they now take the final corner. Surely we're coming to the closing stages of this stock race. And Anthony Squires has got traffic in front of him. This is not ideal for the man from the United States. He has got Kim Min-sung hot on his heels, and this is not the time you want Kim Min-sung behind you. The rider's in the water in front of him. So that will now open up the door here for Anthony Squires, and he knows he will have to push here, because Kim Min-sung, a reigning 2-time champion, made a slight mistake there that time over the last 2 years. And profiteering after the imbalance there from Kim Min-sung is Anthony Squires. He will retain that lead spot, and surely it's in his hands to bring it to victory once again. So now we await for him to come around the final few boys on the course. Now through the final corner. Obviously delighted with his performance so far. Anthony Squires will take victory once again in the stock class, but it was a really close call with Kim Min-sung, who gave it absolutely everything towards the closing stage. But two accomplished riders with great appreciation for one another. A magnificent performance from both Anthony Squire and Kim Min-sung. And here in this MotoSurf Championship here in stock class, of course, brought to you by the likes of IZELTAS as well as the UIM as well. It's Anthony Squire who is in front and in charge, and eventually your race winner as well. Just having some words with Damien Cadleck as well alike, but phenomenal job by all involved. What a climax towards the end of that race after they both undertook the long lap phase. Pleasure to watch. And here are the results here of the UIM MotoSurf, of course, Stock Championship battle in Group B. Anthony Squires, your winner, ahead of Kim Min-sung in second, Damien Cadleck in third, Adam Koloff in fourth place with Fares Ramadan in fifth, Adam Fitchek sixth with Jan Matoska in seventh, Han Tai-hee in eighth place, Thomas Stepanek in ninth, Ender Jorgen Schieler in 10th, and Maiso Liam in 11th spot. Of course, once again, brought to you by IZELTAS. Let's take a look at the moments again as they were carried out. Coming through the first sector, we already had a few riders bailing. We witnessed Jan Matoska bailing into the water. There is, of course, Anthony Squires lighting things up again here in stock class. Kim Min-sung gave it absolutely everything, as did Adam Fitchek, but he also found the water, eventually coming off the board and would have to recover as well once more. Not an ideal moment, and he had a very difficult start as well, getting off the line got hoovered up eventually by Damien Cadleck. It was side by side though between Kim Min-sung and Anthony Squire coming through the final boys on the penultimate lap. Before then they began the final lap, but Anthony Squire's just so resolute, so strong against the threats of Kim Min-sung. Of course, would eventually round out the winner of the last race with Damien Cadleck crashing out just before the line and would eventually take the start-finish line this time. There is, of course, the IZELTAS gazebo with the riders behind in Parc Fermé. Of course, IZELTAS helping us out massively this season, of course, with the Parc Fermé. And we appreciate all our sponsors that have supported the UIM MotoSurf World Championship here this season in 2025. And naturally, many more talents will be coming through from the likes of Junior. We will be seeing the juniors back out in action this afternoon when we undertake our first of the finals. But now we'll be moving across to Masters class as Anthony Squires now converses with the rest of the team. Kim Min-sung, all smiles after that close encounter. It was a fantastic battle to watch between them as we now take a look at the starting grid for this Masters event here for Heat 4 Group A. Kim Down will be starting from P1 and Kamil Schneider will join him in second. Yuri Stovacek in third. Efe Gasoy from Turkey in fourth place. We have Yuri Blahar in fifth. Sebastian Lux from Germany in sixth. Roman Lichol Kraftovshvil in seventh place. For Stanislav Ganichkin in eighth. Sedat Yuris Osman in ninth place as well, with Nikita Antonov starting from position A. Pavel Matoska in B and Erhan Ozkan in C, also from Turkey as well. So those are our runners here for the UIM MotoSurf World Championship Masters Group A event that we will be bringing you now very shortly. Of course, they'll be heading out on their boards again. The Masters event's very similar to the elite class where they can make adjustments to their boards. So not just constricted to the jet surf machinery, but of course many of them still applying the jet surf craft here out on the course, but they can do whatever they want to their boards in particular, as long as it's within the regulations of the championship. So we now watch them enter into the waters here in the IGNC. But as they now look to get set and running here in Masters, of course Kim Down being on top for this one, already having time in the water it back in the stock class. He'll be starting from the top for Rocket Racing and has got plenty with him for the ride, including Kamil Schneider, who will be hoping for a good start in his own right. Yuri Stovacek is going to be a tough beat as well. Efe Gasoy, also a fantastic talent. And here in his home nation of Turkey, we'll be hoping for a big result as well. There is the board of Erhan Ozkan, now heading out in the position C. So he'll be lining up behind the front runners for the start of this race. And the next two races we're going to be seeing that are in Masters class will be the last we see from the heats, because it will bring Heat 4 to a close. We've got some fantastic talents in this too. We'll see the return of Arkadeus Janora, who was fantastic back at Fajira as well last time out, managing to recruit a huge boon of points after a series of first place finishes in both Heat 2 and Heat 3, achieving second place in Heat 1 as well. Kim Down is certainly the one to watch, and speaking to Matej Kozicek, he alluded to Kim Down being that reliable competitor, that staunch competitor, so experienced as well at this level. And Masters class world champion, stock class runner-up in 2024. And stock class world champion back in 2022 as well. But this is Masters again, where he won his championship last year. Of course, he will be up against several others that are going to be looking to bring their form to the fore. Of course, Roman Lichol Kraftovshvil, the Austrian international, 11th in the Masters World Cup in 2024 and 18th in the Stock World Cup in 2023 as well. So he's got some serious experience. Of course, we have got the Turkish international Efe Gasoy in this too from the group racing. So they get set ready to race here this time around. Of course, all these boards subject to performance tuning from the riders. Watch them now get into position. So it's all about rider skill and also board know-how for these wonderful talents who are now out on the C right now, looking to get ready and set and underway. You can just see there Yuri Stovacek just lining up slightly behind Vigasoy. He's going to position himself slightly more forward, I think. He's just more conscious of Kamil Schneider's board in front of him. We'll see whether the marshal approves of this position of the rolling start. Just see him there just getting ready with the flag as they look to get into position. Sebastian Lux on the far right as well, representing the nation of Germany. And it looks like they're going to have to go around again as well. The marshal not happy with the lineup for that start, so they will take the course right round before they then come down past the slalom. Here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship, of course brought to you by IZELTAS as well. Of course, are fully recognised by the Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, since 2010. So now the boards make their way down towards the back straight. Very soon we'll head towards the final corner before they then set off for this first group in the Masters category, with Kim Down on the right-hand side, Kamil Schneider on the inside with Yuri Stovacek and Efe Gasoy. Sebastian Lux on the far right. On his inside, he'll have Yuri Blahar, who's also been sensational. He's in the multi-striped yellow, red and black jersey, with Sebastian Lux in the orange, the 11 on the back. So now they head up towards the start-finish line, or in this case the starting line, to get us underway. Flag up, being held up by the marshals, at least for now, as we look to get started here. And it looks like they've been asked to go again for yet another restart. So this again will only add to the frustration for the riders out on the course at the moment. Obviously for Kim Down, he's already been through the procedure quite a few times already, having already taken the stock class. But again, it can unsettle you if you're looking to get underway as soon as possible. You start thinking too much perhaps about things you could improve on, or perhaps preparation comes into mind. So now the runners come through to the back straight to once again take the start once more. So Kim Down on the right-hand side of the screen. Second position for Kamil Schneider, Yuri Stovacek. Then in third position, Efe Gasoy. In fourth, Yuri Blahar in fifth. They now come down towards the final turn before they then undertake the race procedure. So just a little reminder is the number of laps they will have to undertake. This will be a 6-lap plus 2 long lap affair to send off the heats here in Masters. Kim Down on the left-hand side looking for a big start alongside Kamil Schneider as the green flag is held up by the marshal. They wait to get underway, and they are going to be asked to go again. So it'll be another restart. This time around, obviously, for Kim Down. So they float to the back end of the course. We'll move straight back down again. There's the number 3 of Yuri Stovacek. Comes in here representing Jet Surf, Parjibis. So now they come down towards the back straight and into the final corners here in this UIM MotoSurf World Championship affair here in Masters. Brought to you by IZELTAS. Ready for the start of the race. As they now cruise up towards the line to once again look to get this one underway. Now, will this one go ahead? The marshal with the green flag now raised above his head in anticipation of the riders now forming up in formation. There is a little bit of a gap there to the fore, but surfs up here in the Masters class in Group A. It's a great start here for Kim Down, A few riders getting lost, though, on the escape, and a rider's gone off straight away. So that is another upset. We've lost yet another rider here at the very start. That might have been actually Kamil Schneider, who's actually bailed off out into the sea there. So a problem for him. Yuri Blahar getting a decent start. He's now tussling over second place here and getting a better run through the slalom so far, despite being in the wash of our race leader, Kim Down, who at the moment dialed in, smacks the boy for confidence, and now around the final corner. Full commitment as he now makes his way across the line. Great start for Kim Down, who's now got a comfortable lead ahead of the board in behind him. So now they peel through across the line. Yuri Blahar getting a really, really nice start in. So now we see the number 4 board belonging to F.A. Gasoy. Coming through, there's the number 5 belonging to Yuri Blahar. In board number 5, so they now come through the next left-hander. Yuri Stovacek, incidentally, still in second. Yuri Blahar in third. And it looked like it was Sebastian Lux who we lost as well earlier on. He's down towards the rear of the field. Kamil Schneider was, in fact, the one that we lost earlier. He's currently listed 9th in our timing screen. So we see the number 4 board belonging to F.A. Gasoy now coming through this latter sector, but Kim Down now being allowed to run away with this so far. Beginning the next lap. Of course, in total, we've got to undertake 6 laps with 2 long laps as well. So now Gasoy comes across the line to commence the next one. Still chasing after Yuri Stovacek. We're still in second at the moment. Obviously now will be the question mark on everyone's mind will be, when do we undertake the long lap? Because now we see one about to return now as we keep our eyes peeled on the riders further back. There is, of course, Kim Down now coming through the slalom on the long lap this time. As he cruises through around the hairpin bend and now looks to rejoin. Comes back onto the course. And we'll await the rest of the riders also look to do the same. Further back is the number 9 belonging to Sedat Uris Osman. But it is still Kim Down, your effective net race leader. He's making his way through the slalom once again for yet another occasion. Now through towards the next left, Yuri Stovacek out in front. No question, I'd imagine he'll look to respond on the long lap, this time against Kim Down. Is he looking to hold the lead as now Sedat Uris Osman moves into third. So he's starting further back in 9th place at the beginning of the race. With Kamil Schneider now also moving up the field, has managed to jump Yuri Blahar at F.A. Gasoy. But Kamil Schneider might not have yet taken that long lap just yet. Or maybe just one of them, and the others may have taken 2. So we now see Kim Down come down towards the slalom part of the circuit. Before starting the next lap, he's in second place behind Yuri Stovacek at the moment. He's still holding his own at the head of the order. Number 3 now crossing the line of Stovacek now as he looks to get this next lap underway. Still in full pursuit of him is, of course, Kim Down. Already completed the 1 long lap. Stovacek, I would imagine, looking to run the first of his long laps right now. We'll soon find out. There's another rider in the water, it seems. Not quite sure which one that is, but as they now come through out of the wash, Kim Down just keeping it tight to the inside. There is Kim Down now. And Stovacek, it looks like, will undertake the long lap, and he's not alone because Kim Down's going to follow him for his second long lap. Stovacek still has to take his second one, I think, so far. Or does he? Does Stovacek actually beaten him during the long lap phase? We will, of course, find out as this race pans out. Side by side between what looks to be the number 5 of Yuri Blahar, but Kim Down comfortably moving his way past. Blahar now lining up in what we believe to be third. So now come through towards the slalom once again. So it's pretty neck and neck between these two right now. Kim Down in second. Stovacek still with the lead in the palm of his hand as now Kim Down comes through towards the final 2 corners on this lap. They're getting closer and closer between the two of them. So now they wind through the first sector. Stovacek with the number 3 shorts. See, last time out, back at the UAE, managed to pull together 39 points together. Kim Down managed to accrue 54 after a perfect sequence of victories. They now race in towards the top of the circuit. Now in towards the next left, and yes, Stovacek taking that long lap. So Kim Down should now hold the lead here at this very late stage. And then is now bringing his board down into the slalom. It won't be long before we see the white flag come out. Efe Gasoy, Roman Lichil as well, further down in 5th. So now around the final corner comes Kim Down across the line. And that is victory, I think, going his way. Checkered flag is out. Kim Down is your winner of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship Heat 4 in the Masters. Fantastic display there from Kim Down. Performing at the highest level to once again register yet another victory his way, and looking like the favourite in Masters category once again. Now the number 5 of Yuri Blahar comes across the line as well to take the checkered flag alike here in this race. A magnificent display by all those riders concerned, but nothing more impressive than Kim Down, who finishes ahead of Kamil Schneider and Yuri Stovacek, despite Stovacek's late effort of going on the long lap. Just wasn't able to profit off any errors, because there simply were no errors on part of Kim Down, of course, as well. As we're here at the Fun Club here at Cheshmere Beach. We'll run through the results of the UIM MotoSurf Masters Heat 4 Group A. Kim Down is your winner, with Yuri Stovacek 2nd, Yuri Blahar in 3rd, Efe Gasoy in 4th, with Roman Lichil in 5th place, with Kamil Schneider in 6th, Sedat Juris Osman in 7th, Sebastian Lux in 8th, Pavel Matoska in 9th, Stanislav Ganichkin in 10th, Nikita Antonov in 11th, and Erhan Ozkan in 12th place. So that concludes Group A of this event. We will, of course, have Group B coming up next as well. It will feature the likes of David and Peter Pojnik in our next run as well, before we then head into a little breakout onto the course. Then, of course, later on this afternoon, we will, of course, have the finals coming up. The wind really picking up here as we take a look at some of the highlights from that last round. This is the number 4 of Efe Gasoy, obviously having another good run out there today. But it was all between, really, Kim Down and, for a brief point, Kamil Schneider. They were nose to tail coming through on their long laps together. Obviously, Schneider's still yet to take his 2nd long lap, and it obviously opened the door for Kim Down to take that race lead back. But just look at how committed they were coming through, the boys. And Kim Down later would then make his way through the final corner and, in truly dominant style, take the victory here in Heat 4 in the Masters category. As we now take a look on the beach side, of course, the crowds gathered under the IZELTAS gazebos in protection out of the windy weather we have got here out on the beach so far here at Cheshmere. We've got Group B coming up now very shortly to bring an end to the Masters heats, and the last of our heats in total here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. There is the riders in Parc Ferme. Kamil Schneider just having a few words as well underneath the IZELTAS gazebo, with the A-placed Nikita Antonov as well waiting in the wings. Of course, we'll be witnessing Group B heading out now in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship Masters Group B event. David Pojnik starting from 1st place, with Peter Pojnik joining him in 2nd, Petr Faltashek in 3rd, with Arkadiusz Janora in 4th, Jano Vankersbilk in 5th place, with Radek Luchka in 6th, Murat Jorgenschila in 7th, Ted Burke in 8th, with Mark Entwistle in 9th. We've got Yoon Jin in position A, with Stuart Oliphant from Britain in position B, and NG Chio Hong in position C, just behind the front runners, as well as we head through into this final heat of the weekend. So this will be the 4th and final heat in the Masters, of course, Group B. And, of course, we'll now be heading onto the finals then this afternoon. You certainly do not want to miss it. It's going to be an extraordinary battle across this grid here at Cheshire in Turkey. But it'll be David and Peter Pojnik who will be at the very top in the front two places, with Petr Faltashek alongside them. And Faltashek, whilst the results haven't been quite as good as David and Peter, going back to Fujairah after David Pojnik managed to round out 2 victories, coupled with a second place finish as well. Petr Pojnik also taking a victory in the first heat back at Fujairah, with a second and third coming later on as well. Petr Faltashek has also remained inside the podium place, only once featuring outside of it in the Fujairah GP after finishing 4th. But eventually that result was cancelled out as per the ruling in the championship. The 3 best results are taken, and it was 3 podiums for Petr Faltashek, and I'm sure he's going to be a thorn in the side of both Pojniks ahead of this final Masters encounter here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship at Cheshire, Turkey. Hand up now, this time around from David Pojnik, as he awaits for the remaining riders to come through. Now, obviously, quite a few have struggled with the starts here. Will we see an improvement in the Group B? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we had a few restarts in the Masters Group A. We had a few in Elite as well. But riders now coming into close quarter as they look to line up. But in the usual V formation, they will, of course, have David Pojnik, Peter Pojnik, Petr Faltashek, as well as Arkadiusz Janora, Jano Vankersbilk, and also Radek Lučka lining up in the front 6, with Murat Jorgenschila there as well, just behind, with Ted Burke, Mark Entwistle, Yoon Jin, Stuart Oliphant, and NG Chio Hong in the A, B, and C positions further back. So now as they look to round the next left-hander, still the hand up on David Pojnik. They get into position. There is the number 5 of Jano Vankersbilk, and then further back, Radek Lučka as well. So that's our front 6, the banner, the flag raised by the marshal as they look to get going. And surfs up here in Heat 4 of Group B in the Masters, and it's a great start straight away from David Pojnik. Petr Pojnik on the inside though, however, trying to challenge, as we now see Petr Faltashek on the outside, now forced to remain in 3rd place, will not profit of any point in that encounter. In fact, it looks like Petr Faltashek not getting a great start at all, dropping through the field, and it's still David Pojnik who leads though, however, with Peter Pojnik as well in 2nd. They come through the slalom for the first time of asking. Arkadiusz Janora in 3rd place, now disputing over 2nd place as they come through now towards the final corner. David Pojnik leads them through, closely followed by Petr Pojnik, and also Arkadiusz Janora crossing the line as well in 3rd. So he's 1 place up now, Janora, from where he was before. Managed to surpass Petr Faltashek, who dropped back through the field, not getting the best of starts at all. But they're still having to cope with an immense level of wash out there on the course, which is creating a tough circumstance for all riders out there at the moment, as we now watch as David Pojnik makes his way around. Of course, the boards that they are using in Masters can be customised. Essentially, the setups that they use, fully customisable. They can manage how the setup is applied on all the boards. So now we watch them come through the slalom point on the course now before they then reach the start-finish line once again. It is still at the moment David Pojnik out in front, and will continue on his way through towards the start-finish line to begin the next lap, with David Pojnik just watching on as they head on through. Arkadiusz Janora still lined up in 3rd as well. Petr Faltashek still ruining after that disappointing start. So they're now coming towards the hairpin bend. Jano Vankersbilk moving up into 6th ahead of Ted Burke as well. And it looks like the hands raised here for David Pojnik. He's going to take the long lap, is he? As they come through the middle part of the course. Definitely looks like Petr Pojnik now has the lead here in this instance. So already the first of the long laps being taken. Keep our eyes peeled on it. There's the number 2 shot. In fact, I don't think the Pojnik brothers have actually done that. It must have been just a balance hand up, I think, because it is still David Pojnik out in front at the moment. So no long lap taken just yet. They come through the first sector now. Arkadiusz Shinora in that 4th position, just lapping the 8th positioned Yoon Jin. Very close between some of the back markers and the front runners. Just trying to breeze past Mark Entwistle as well at the same time. There is the number 4 of Arkadiusz Shinora. As now the boards come through, there is our race leader, David Pojnik. Now, he's got his hand up. Does this mean he's taking the long lap? Yes, I think it does. So we've got the first of 2 long laps being taken by Pojnik this time. He remains out in front. I think he's also being joined by Peter Pojnik just in second. He's going to continue as through the black boys, the rounded boys goes David Pojnik to complete that long lap. And Peter Pojnik doing the same as well as they come through towards the back straight, leading through towards the slalom part of the course. And both Pojniks now taking the same lane. As they look to bring an end to this lap as well in an effort to try and make it a Pojnik double act in Ps 1 and 2. As they head around the final corner, obviously Jano Vankersbilt company registered on the top, obviously having not taken his long lap just yet. As we now watch them head through the course and weave in between the boys. Peter Pojnik and Stacken still chasing down David at the moment. Of course, David, the more successful rider back at the Fajira GP as well. Arkadiusz Shinora just getting a little bit deep into the water there. He's lost his balance, perhaps just a shade, a little mistake creeping in. Can't afford for too many of those. And if it was more extreme, he would have lost perhaps a little bit more than just his balance. Could have probably capsized and lost his position as well. But it's another long lap being taken by our race leader, or net race leader, David Pojnik. Now coming through the next right. And now coming through the gates, he's going to come out ahead of, well, in between a couple of the back marker runners. So we now see the number 4 of Arkadiusz Shinora chasing after him right now. Of course, this will allow Peter Pojnik to just carry on here at this stage on his own. And Peter Pojnik has just crossed the line to commence his next lap. Of course, he's going to be looking to take in the long lap himself as well, as we now watch as David Pojnik comes through the slalom. Now in towards the final corner once again. Still the trail of wash remains from the back marker in front, or should I say that might be Jano Vankersbilt in front as well. So the number 4 of Arkadiusz Shinora now crosses the line and comes through towards turn 1. We now wait for the long laps to be taken elsewhere. The white flag is, of course, out onto the track, so this is the last lap that they are now undertaking. This is going to be very close. This is the number 1 of David Pojnik now that we're currently seeing out on circuit. He's going to come out in close quarter here, and it looks like Peter Pojnik is in behind him right now as they come down towards the slalom. Of course, both riders having to deal with the immense wind speeds that we're currently seeing out on circuit, but this has been a very assured performance from the Pojnik pairing, and no less so than David Pojnik, who will now make his way towards the final corner in grand style. A winner once more in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship, this time in Masters, I should say. Group B, Heat 4. A grand display. It will be Arkadiusz Shinora, I think, coming home in third too, just behind the 2 Pojniks. That's your top 3. Magnificent job by both David and Peter Pojnik. They are your P1 and P2 sitters. Ahead of Arkadiusz Shinora, a fist bump between the pair. And a brilliant result for the Jet Surf Pargibis. We'll take you through the results. David Pojnik is your winner here of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship in Masters Division Group B. Peter Pojnik in second, Arkadiusz Shinora in third, with Jano Vankersbilt in fourth, Radek Lučka in fifth, Peter Valtashek in 6th, Murat Jorgenschieler in 7th, Ted Burke in 8th, with NG Chio Hong in 9th, Yoon Jin in 10th, Mark Entwistle in 11th, with Stuart Oliphant rounding off the runners in 12th place. So there we have it, the heats now all completed. Let's take you through some of the highlights from some of the moments. There is the number 2 of Peter Pojnik making his way through the course. Obviously was always chasing David Pojnik through the course of the race as well, but having to dodge and weave through the numerous back markers that they had to surpass. It was some fantastic moves, though, on the board, trying to keep it under control. Arkadej Shinora also making the odd mistake here and there, but still managed to maintain his pace and hold on to that stupendous P3 that would have helped him out. But at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, it was victory for David Pojnik, with second place going the way of Peter Pojnik, making it a Pojnik 1 and 2 to close out the final heat of asking here in this weekend's event in round 2 of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. And now all that's left are the finals, as the riders will set themselves underneath the IZELTAS gazebos. Of course, proud partners here as well. But a magnificent display from all runners concerned. And what a phenomenal end to the heats so far. Next up will, of course, be the finals that we see making our way through the weekend. It's going to be a terrific end to the weekend here in Cheshire, Turkey. Of course, we're coming into the final portion of this, the halfway point as well in the championship. But a wonderful display from all riders already right at the get-go. And obviously there'll be immense preparations in place, of course, just to tee you up with what we have coming up later on this afternoon. Of course, we will be witnessing the finals in the junior girls over 6 laps and 2 long laps, with the junior boys doing the same as well just after them. That's going to be just after them at 12:35. We have the Masters category as well, making our way through with 10 laps, 2 long laps as well, with the stock and stock Rs coming up soon as well here. But as we now pan across prior to the finals, you can also enjoy the wonder that is, of course, Cheshire here in Turkey. We, of course, are here for our round 2 of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship, and it's fantastic to see. Obviously, alongside the Masters, we do have Stock R with 10 laps and 2 long laps to be taken, with Stock also running on its own in its own race for 10 laps and 2 jokers as well. The women also will line up for 9 laps and 2 long laps. That would be the penultimate round here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship in the women's division, and then Elite to end the weekend with 12 laps and 2 long laps to come. And that is all coming up this afternoon here, brought to you by IZELTAS, the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. Here, of course, officially recognised by the UIM. And we'll look forward to seeing how they get on. Of course, the International Olympic Committee also supporting this since 2010. The Union International Motor Nautique also in full support of the MotoSurf Championship, as well as we watch the riders now in the water, having some picturesque photos taken in the midst of the ocean, with the Turkish flag being waved as well, as they now look to head out onto the water, as we will get the flag ceremony underway very shortly. But all of these runners representing their own home nations, and of course nothing more prudent than the Turkish flag being waved here, given the fact that this is all about them, and to a certain degree this weekend, with this being their home water. And Murat Jürgen just waving that flag aloft. Of course, we have a strong Czech contingent here, as well as a couple of British riders that we just saw in the Masters category. But we also have Slovakians, Macau competitors, as well as various others taking to the water as the MotoSurf boards are now sent out. Also Korea being well represented, with the face of Kim Down as well. And also Poland, who have just witnessed Arkadej Shinora coming home in 3rd in the Masters Group B category. There is the Korean flag heading out as well. Obviously, Kim Down part of that too. But of course, not the only Korean here. We've got the British flag, was being handled by another competitor from our Masters event that closed out the final event in the Masters, incidentally. And that being Mark Entwistle, who has got the flag on his board. But racers from all nations now marking an appearance on to the water. The cameraman will be looking to take the pictures as well, as we look to embrace every nationality out on the water here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship here at Cheshire in Turkey. Of course, come the end of play this weekend, it will mark the halfway point
in this series, with Manfredonia coming up next in October for round 3, and then of course round 4 taking place in Croatia, when of course we head to Zadar on the 10th and the 12th of October. So that'll be back-to-back weekends in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. But Turkey is still to come. We're still needing to crown our Elite Championship winners of the second round here in Turkey, not to mention every class on this field. And we're seeing Slovakian flags plenty, Polish flags, the Korean flags, the British flags as well, the Italian flags, of course. We've got some strong representation on that front, with, of course, in the stock class, we have Lorenzo Tanda representing in Stock R for the Italians. Cyprus with Mike Michaelidis as well. As the Turkish flag getting a little bit tangled there, it would seem, but the marshals also waving the flags onwards as well, just showing their dedication to their nations as well, representing them in the highest of spirits. Mark Entwistle there with the British flag in the background as well, as the Turkish flag is held aloft. But this is wonderful to see, obviously, riders in union, separate nations, the Austrian flag on the right-hand side as well. Certainly some wonderful shots, and got the Bulgarian flag there on the left-hand side as well. But well done, everybody that are taken to the waters here. The UIM flag being waved as well. Of course, as many of you will know, the Union International Moto Nautique that is in full support of this championship. But wonderful to see the German flags also on show as well here out on the course. But marvellous stuff. There's the Bulgarian flag out and about. But, I mean, Korea have had certainly a huge amount of support. Kim Down obviously being one of the main figureheads for them, for Rocket Racing. Of course, Czech Republic with a vast collective of phenomenal talents. And also the United States, when we factor in Anthony Squire at the head of the order inside the stock category. And we're going to be seeing some more states flags coming through. Of course, in the women's category, we also see the states flag represented as well in full force. Of course, in the women's side, it's Anna Burke who represents the United States of America, as now they continue to patrol around the course, sharing in the delight of their own home nations here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. That is for sure. We see the Macau flag being waved as well in the background. And the Kuwait flag as well. Hassan Bouabas, of course, one of their main figureheads, top stars of the grid order as well. I'm sure we'll see him competing in Elite next year. And I'd imagine we'll see Anthony Squires joining him as well. Just stay tuned to that, folks. I can assure you that's going to be a corker when that comes off later in the year, and a little buddy hop of approval as well from the number 4 Slovak, making his way around the course this time around. But credit where credit's due. Well done to everyone concerned. Jorgen Chila taking them along with the Turkish flag in full swing. Lorenzo Tanda also giving us a little bunny hop as well, the Italian. But Turkey has been a fantastic destination for this second round to take us through the championship here at Çeşme, here in Turkey, 85 kilometers away from Izmir region. And we've enjoyed ourselves on the beach, it has to be said. Of course, in the company of many of the spectators and fans, and also the supporters of this championship, including IZELTAS, who have been fantastic sponsors here this weekend as well. And not to mention the fantastic group around the UIM and the Olympic Committee as well, that have also supported the UIM MotoSurf World Championship as early as 2010, 2 years prior to when the championship got underway officially for the first time in 2012. But there we witnessed them make their way through the course, coming through the wash. More bunny hops to celebrate this grand occasion. German flag being waved as well. Obviously, we witnessed Sebastian Lux earlier on through the course of the day, coming in for the first time this season after not appearing at Fujairah GP, and performing fantastically as well to achieve P10 in the qualifying session. No doubt we'll see him at the top as well again at some point. Obviously started P6 in today's event that we of course witnessed. Murat Jorgen Chile coming around with the British flags also coming into play. Mark Henswhistle coming through as well as they looked around the course in clockwise motion. A little bit different to what we usually see in a clockwise fashion. Of course, we've got the Czech flag being waved out as well, of course, being represented very strongly in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. We were speaking about the women that are taking part in the women's category that include the likes of Aliska Matuskova, and not to mention the likes of Anita Strukalova, Valentina Novotná, as well as Mariana Navarova and Barbara Kolarova, Laura Markova as well, Kristina Hubkova and Linda Luke-Schneider, as well as Elizabeta Faitova, as well as Adela Ostralikova and Natalie Kichelova as well. They have represented the women's category well back at Fujairah. And of course, we've witnessed many more come in and join through the course of today as well. And many young talents coming through the junior girls category that I'm sure will be looking to make their mark in the women's side as well, as we watch the flags now make their way around the course once more. And centering them into the middle as well as they look to reach across the Korean flag. There is part of the Asian region community coming together here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. As we watch them make their way over the water through towards the back end of the course. The magnificent marshals out there on the jet skis, obviously waving the UIM flag that, like I said, in full support of this championship, the British flag linking towards the back end, along with the Belgian as well. We get to see the Belgians here competing in this series. Of course, known for their motorsport drivers in cars, but also now especially known in the world of MotoSurf racing. Now we see the UIM flag in full swing, in full breeze, the Union International Motor Nautique. And looks like the riders are being called in towards shore. Some whistles erupting on the shore side here as they look to bring it to an end. But great to see the flags out in store as now the riders dismount off their jet surfboards and head back to shore. Still a couple of them waving their flags out and about, including the Turkish flag. But we thank you all for tuning in so far. We will, of course, be back later on for the finals. But from all of us here at Turkey so far, we'll catch up with you later. Goodbye.